You'll bless our time together, bless the decisions that we make. May they be for the benefit of your people, for the benefit of this community. May we serve you in all that we do. Amen.
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 Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Mayor Connolly.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Daniels has let us know she will not be able to attend. Councilmember Foreman.
Here.
Councilmember Blackburn.
Present.
Councilmember Scully.
here.
Councilmember Robinson.
Here.
And Councilmember Willis.
Here.
All right, Mayor Connolly, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. We'll now move on to the approval of tonight's agenda. Mr. Manager.
I have no changes, Mayor.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Motion's been made by Councilmember Blackburn, second by Councilmember Scully. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay.
Motion passes 5-0.
We'll move on to the public comment period. The public comment period is a period reserved for comments by the public. Items that were or are scheduled to be the subject of a public hearing conducted this meeting or another meeting during the same week shall not be discussed. A total of 30 minutes is allocated, with each individual being allowed no more than 3 minutes. Individuals who registered with the city clerk to speak will speak in the order registered until the allotted 30 minutes expires. If time remains after all persons who have registered have spoken, individuals who did not register will have an opportunity to speak until the allotted 30 minutes expires. Madam Clerk, our first speaker.
Yes, sir. First speaker is Mr. Gary Fenton. Mr. Fenton, you have 3 minutes to address the mayor and council.
Mayor Connolly, members of council, good evening.
Good evening.
I had the privilege of serving this city as director of Greenville Recreation and Parks during the final 14 years of my 51-year career in Parks and Recreation. And it's what brought my family to Greenville 18 years ago. The community and the people we have met since then are what make leaving Greenville so difficult. But we'll soon do that in order to be nearer to and more involved in the lives of our kids and our grandkids and our great-grandkids. I'm a military brat. I grew up in Pennsylvania, Illinois, Texas, Florida, Hawaii, Louisiana, Mississippi, North Africa, and Italy.
Wow.
And my parents made each place home for us, no matter where we were or how long we were there. I moved my parents here to Greenville in 2012, where they spent their final years residing at Cypress Glen and calling Greenville home. My nomadic childhood was followed by a Parks and Recreation career that mimicked it. It was a gypsy lifestyle, working in 3 communities in Ohio, and then 2 in Virginia, and then another in Ohio, and then another in Virginia, and finally I found my way home to Greenville, North Carolina in 2007. Those moves in my long career enabled me to clearly understand why vibrant communities like Greenville invest in parks and recreation. And that's because I experienced the community benefits that come from investing in creating and sustaining parks and greenways and gymnasiums and river access and tournaments and boating and fishing opportunities and facilities and skate parks and nature centers and such. I also saw how, once established, those initiatives begin and continue generating benefits year after year after year. Take Elm Street Park as an example, built back in 1951. I suspect there were people in this community who opposed that project, thought it was a waste of money, and that the people who were proposing it were idiots. But consider, if you will, the number of people who have or are or will utilize that park. And the revenues that the Little League World Series, Softball World Series brings to our community, and the positive national exposure Greenville receives as a result of that. Could anyone have possibly envisioned the benefit to this community that that park has given us and will continue to give us? I also think about Wildwood's impact, and I'm grateful to the city and to the state and to Eddie Smith and the other donors for helping to make that all possible. What a dynamic park. I love seeing the support and progress continue and meeting people, as I did Saturday, who have been there for only one time. That's their first visit. They are in awe of the beauty and the uniqueness of that piece of land. What a gift to our city. Someday your great-great-great-grandchildren will also benefit from Wildwood Park.
That's
So please take care of it, as well as Greenville's other great parks and facilities. There's a cost in doing that, I know, but I want you to know there's a cost in not doing it as well. So as you consider council's many priorities, please try to keep Parks and Recreation among them, because it's not icing on the cake. It's part of the cake itself. Thank you for all you do to make Greenville a vibrant, healthy, and exciting place to live and call home. And for the opportunity I was given to be part of that. May God bless you and this great community. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you so much, Mr. Fenton, and all your years as Director of Recreation and Parks really made a difference for our community.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Gary, we were very lucky to have you as part of the staff here, and I know as a leader of the Recreation and Parks Department, the city was incredibly lucky to have your vision and be able to see all the great things that have happened in that department. I could always tell the passion that you had with your job, and the one thing that always comes to mind whenever I think about it is sitting there every year for the Little League opening, and you had written a poem that I swear to you seemed like it lasted 10 minutes long. And you wrote it new every single year. And I mean, I just was blown away. And I remember one of the first years I was there, I looked over at the person next to me and said, does he do this every year? And they said, every year he does it. And your work for what you've done for the city is incredible. And we are incredibly thankful for all that you've done. Wildwood Park, in my opinion, I don't know if Michael can say this too, but would not be there without your vision, right? And the relationships that you were able to create and forge with Eddie Smith and Grady White Boats is going to be instrumental. And I think that should be your swan song on your way out. You did a lot of great things for our city, but I feel like as you leave, Greenville will always remember Gary Fenton for Wildwood Park. So thank you for everything you've done. Thank you for making Greenville your home.
Thank you, Mayor.
Madam Clerk, our next speaker.
Yes, sir. Next speaker is Ms. Mickey Ragsdale. You have 3 minutes to address the mayor and council.
Hi there. Thanks for allowing us to come up here and talk to you and tell you what's important to us. I love Wildwood Park. Thank you for making that come to life. I also love downtown Greenville. That's why I chose downtown Greenville to be the place for my store, Aji. When I opened it, it was originally designed to just be a candy and snack and treat store that specialized in treats and snacks from around the world. It quickly became apparent to me that people love coming downtown to have dinner, have drinks, enjoy a nice evening out. So I added wine to our repertoire. Great wines have come from around the world, as you all know, I'm sure. There has been a lot of growth in downtown, which also translates to competition. So with that, it became clear that I needed to sort of pivot and do some things, which included allowing our guests to enjoy some alcoholic drinks with liquor in them, and I was faced with a wall. Bar 2022, I guess, basically put some rules in place that doesn't allow retailers to have liquor-based drinks. I want to just point out there is someone here from Pitt Street Brewing. As you all know, Pitt Street's a great place to go and have a glass of beer. Great place to spend time with family and friends. No problems. They applied for a liquor license and were turned down. Seems a little strange, doesn't it? So I'm only up here to urge you all, if and when this comes up as a vote, to please do away with bar 2022 or do away with any ordinances that prohibit well-established, reputable places from having alcohol, liquor-based drinks. I think that this was created back in a time when there was a problem with downtown being a rough place. And with all of the work that you have put in to make Greenville downtown more vibrant, I think that we can consider doing away with those kinds of strange. I want to say strange just because it's a downtown. It's almost a necessary thing in downtown to allow people to have enjoyable drinks. So that's all. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And if I may, I'd like to interject. Customarily, we don't have extended discussions during the comment section, but I was chatting with Councilmember Scully. I was here when the 500-foot separation ordinance was passed. It was definitely needed, and it may still be needed in some form. But the state allows the sale of liquor as an ancillary use to something else that's taking place, whether it's being a brewery, whether it's your store. And so you don't need to have a bar license or even bar 2021. You can have liquor as an ancillary use. So I hope our staff will be able to talk with you about that.
And I'll say that we have this conversation scheduled for the next month's workshop to discuss on bar 2022 as well as the 500-foot rule. So I would ask for us to be able to wait till that conversation to be able to look at all the ins and outs of what that includes.
Absolutely, but that notwithstanding, the state allows alcohol as an ancillary use.
The state absolutely does. I've spoken with the state. We'd be green-lighted to have an alcohol license, no problem. But it is, or a liquor license. But it is prohibited here in the city of Greenville.
That's right. It can't trump our ordinance.
Not alcohol as an ancillary use.
I think that we would just need to verify that.
So it'll be at our
Please
workshop.
have a
It'll be our workshop,
and,
that's right.
yes,
Okay,
and
all
discuss
right.
it. And time, really, I feel, is of the essence, only because I feel as though businesses, for example, mine, is being severely impacted by tariff changes. And that's it. I
Absolutely.
appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
for taking
Appreciate you
time to come
coming.
and tell us.
Thank you. And you're welcome if you'd like to come to our next workshop.
That's right.
To attend that one. It's open to the public. We'll be in room 337 just down the hall, so. All right. Thank you. Madam Clerk, our next speaker?
Yes, sir. Next speaker is Mr. Kevin Morse. Mr. Morse, you have 3 minutes to address the mayor and council.
Thank you, ma'am. Mayor Conley, members of the council, I'm lucky enough to be married to your last speaker here. And I just wanted to point out a couple of things. First of all, Mickey has developed a really great relationship with some young jazz musicians from ECU. And they perform there at least once or twice a month. And a comment that I've heard a couple of times from patrons when they're in there is that they're so glad to see a place in downtown Greenville where adults can go. And I feel that, and I understand that. And so what we're talking about here is dealing with adults that drink alcohol responsibly. Bar 2022 was passed in 23, back in January 23, and it was actually designed to do exactly what Mickey is asking for. That is to allow liquor establishments in downtown Greenville where they may not be allowed as close together in other parts of Greenville. The problem is that, and of course I'll defer to staff and your very worthy counsel, but the problem is that statute, to be eligible to get that special privilege, your place has to be less than 2,000 square feet. And it measures the whole footprint of the building. Not just the usable portion of the building, or not just the building that you're using for the bar, but the whole building. From what I understand, under bar 2022, you've only allowed one bar to have a liquor license under this. The other good thing, the thing that I thought was so smart about what the council did back then was it requires a special use permit. So in addition to the rules and regulations that the North Carolina ABC Board has, you also have oversight over that location. If they don't meet the rules and regulations, the things that the city of Greenville feels are important, you can withdraw that special use permit. So it works really well. And so I think what we're asking you to do is, is revisit BAR 2022 and give it some viability. And that is whether you expand the number on the square feet that's eligible or take that cap off entirely, or however y'all see fit. But we need to make it such that it is usable. And so we appreciate your time. And I just want to say we appreciate what each of y'all are doing up here. I know that it's not always fun. And from what I've heard, sometimes there's thorny issues that come up. And
No,
yeah.
no.
But we sincerely appreciate your commitment to the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
Thank
you
you.
coming up. Madam Clerk, our next speaker.
Yes, sir. Next speaker is Ms. Roseanne Davis. Ms. Davis, you have 3 minutes to address the mayor and council.
And I love pickleball courts. Good thing. Hi, everybody. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm speaking on the matter of the tree ordinances. The U.S. Forest Service defines an urban tree canopy as a leafy green overhead cover from trees that community groups, residents, and local governments maintain in the landscape for beauty, shade, wildlife habitat, energy conservation, stormwater mitigation, and a host of public health values. As Greenville and Pitt County continue to grow, saving and improving our tree canopy is becoming more important. I have lived here for 20 years, and the changes I have seen are quite disturbing. Beautiful areas of mature canopy trees are cut down, removed, and replaced by large buildings with large black, and in the summer, very hot asphalt parking lots. I see Greenville becoming an urban heat island and a city of devil strips. No, devil strips, those ribbons of green space between roads, sidewalks, parking lots. And if you open your eyes and really look at these trees the next time you're at Lowe's or Fresh Market, you'll see that they're barely hanging on because they're planted in a space that's too small to support healthy tree growth. Yes, trees are being planted, but they are small, and many of them are crepe myrtles. And I ask, how many crepe myrtles do we really need in Greenville? They are not native plants, so I think the number of crepe myrtles need to be limited, and we need more native plants. We need native tree species planted, but more importantly, and this is really near and dear to my heart, we need to save and preserve mature canopy trees. Canopy trees take years, lifetimes, to grow from a seed to full maturity. And we really need the Unified Development Ordinance modified to save and protect these trees. Mature canopy trees mitigate urban heat islands. They aid in energy conservation. They provide much-needed shade during our hot summer months, often lowering temperatures 3 to 9 degrees. I certainly seek the shade of a large tree during the hot summers. They absorb a lot of water, as in rain, aiding in stormwater management. They improve our air quality. They reduce noise pollution, stabilize and preserve our soils, protect our wildlife, and provide habitat for wildlife. They provide many physical and psychological health benefits. So when was the last time you looked up at the trees in Greenville? I mean, really looked up at them. Don't you appreciate their shade during July and August? And don't you love the way they mark the changes of the seasons? I think that you guys have an opportunity, and gals, you have an opportunity to make a difference in how Greenville looks in the future, and you have an opportunity to make the changes that will help keep the green in Greenville. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Davis.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, our next speaker.
Yes, sir. Next speaker is Ms. Jill Twerk. Ms. Twerk, you have 3 minutes to address the mayor and council.
Thank you. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
I also had a great time this last Saturday at Wildwood Park at the opening of the new playground. Too bad Monica Daniels is not here because she was also there, and it was fabulous. So as you know, I'm Jill Twerk. I am the founder and chair of the nonprofit organization Friends of Greenville Greenways. Please check us out at frogs.org. And I've come here today also to request that you please consider adopting a comprehensive tree ordinance to protect our precious trees and expand our tree canopy. Recently, I read in the Daily Reflector that our city is now only 34% wooded, which I found kind of shocking because my neighborhood is full of trees, as is my yard. And that this tree coverage is the lowest percentage of any major city in North Carolina, which I think this is not a status that we want to maintain, right? We're the city with the least number of trees. As our city continues to grow, we need to both protect this existing tree canopy and expand it as much as possible. So I'm here on behalf of several Greenville organizations whose members all support the adoption of such an ordinance. These groups include the Sierra Club's Cypress Group, the Pitt County Master Gardeners, Relief, the Truno Organization, and the City Council Environmental Advisory Commission. And of course, Frogs, and our board voted to support this initiative. Some suggestions that we propose for such an ordinance include mandating tree replacements for specimen trees that are cut down for development or die within 1 to 3 years after development at an inch-for-inch rate. Allowing canopy tree substitutions by bushes or smaller trees only where overhead utility lines are present. This would mean changing section 9-4-265B and C of Greenville's city code. Greenville should negotiate the creation of easements with property owners if the right-of-way is too small in order to plant more street trees. Greenville needs to develop tree canopy percentage goals for each planning zone, including public schools, churches, shopping centers, and industrial areas. In particular, public schools and churches, which are currently exempt from buffer screening requirements, this is section 9-4-266D, should be included in this ordinance. Most city tree ordinances require native species to be planted. We should require new plantings to be composed of at least 50% native species, which are usually more drought, heat, and cold tolerant than non-natives. Street planting should require 3 canopy trees per 100 linear feet. More canopy trees should be planted in parking lots with less small tree substitution, and islands should be made larger to accommodate them. As the person who before me spoke of, linear islands should be required at set intervals in parking lots. Okay, don't we all try to park our cars in the shade if we can find it? I know I do. So last but not least, Greenville needs an urban forestry professional involved in the decision-making process with new development and redevelopment plans on a regular basis. So I think we should hire an urban forestry professional. So please consider these points as you move forward with planning for our city's future, and thank you for considering them.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you very much. All right, Madam Clerk, our next speaker.
Yes, sir. Next speaker is Miss Stacy Moy. Ms. Moy, you've got 3 minutes to address the mayor and council.
Thank you. Good evening,
Good
Mayor
evening.
Connolly and esteemed members of the City Council. My name is Stacy Streeter Moy, and I'm a Greenville native and current resident. As a member of the Greenville NC Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated and co-chair of our Social Action Committee, I stand to bring you all greetings from the Greenville NC Alumni Chapter, as well as the Pitt County Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I would like to take a moment to recognize the Greenville NC Alumni Chapter, who on May 1st celebrated 60 years of purpose and impact. Since 1965, the Greenville NC Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority has proudly served our community through unwavering dedication of sisterhood, scholarship, service, and social action. Both of the local chapters who are represented here today and its members are committed to service through social action, just as our 22 founders were in 1913, as they participated in the Women's Suffrage March just 2 months after establishing our sorority. The social action committees not only provide fact-based education and information on public policy issues to our members and our community, but we are actively engaged in the legislative, executive, judicial, and regulatory affairs of our state and the nation. We actively monitor legislation at the national, state, and local levels while implementing programs to educate, register, and mobilize voters. Our chapter members annually participate in Delta Days at the North Carolina General Assembly, where we highlight our unwavering commitment to social action and advocacy. This year, Governor Josh Stein and other elected officials recognized the impactful work of Delta Sigma Theta, acknowledging our organization's dedication to civic engagement, public policy, and community empowerment. In addition, our members participate in Delta Days at the nation's capital, an annual conference which includes legislative briefings, issues forums, and advocacy skills development. In March 2003, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated became a non-governmental organization at the United Nations. As an NGO member of the United Nations, we are tasked with monitoring the status of women and children in the world and to ensure that the United Nations honors its commitments. As citizens of Greenville and Pitt County, the members of Greenville NC Alumni Chapter and Pitt County Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated are committed to engaging in social action activities and promoting programs, laws, policies that sustain and expand the rights and privileges of citizenship to all people and that protect the most vulnerable amongst us. I would also like to add, as we stand with those in our community, we would like the record to reflect that we stand in opposition to the closing of Grand Avenue. As you may know, street closures can have a negative impact on traffic flow.
Ms. Moy, unfortunately, those comments would be more appropriately made during the public hearing, so I'm so sorry. I'd have to just ask you to pause here.
I respect that.
Yes, ma'am.
Finally, I would like to ask the members of Greenville NC Alumni Chapter and Pitt County Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta to please stand. Thank you.
All right.
Did you want to, we can go ahead and
Yeah,
let
absolutely.
you.
Thank you to all the Deltas for all that you guys do for our community. Thank you, Ms. Moy, for coming and speaking before us. We appreciate how you serve our community in so many different ways and are advocates for people throughout our community and beyond. So thank you for all that you guys do. We appreciate that. I promise you I did not wear any pink today on purpose. So just keep that in mind. I wore some red for you today. So thank you guys for all that you do. We appreciate everything that you do.
And if you all want to come up to the dais, we can take a picture with you all, with the mayor, and then we'll call the full council.
Thank you, ladies.
All right, we have, in honor of our wonderful Delta sisters, we have put together a proclamation that I'm going to sign up here, but I'm going to read it first so everybody from the general public can find out how wonderful these ladies are. Whereas Greenville, North Carolina Alumni Chapter of the Pitt County Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, Inc. are both strong and active community service organizations, whereas the combined membership of the Delta Sigma Theta is 350,000 and over 1,000 chapters across the world. Combined, the Greenville, North Carolina, and Pitt County alumni chapters have over 125 members, whereas the 2 alumni chapters are committed to community service, social action, philanthropy, and have over 85 years of history and service to the region between them. Whereas the 2 alumni chapters and the sorority as a whole are centered around a 5-point thrust focused on economic development, educational development, international awareness, physical and mental health, and political awareness. Whereas the Greenville, North Carolina alumni of Pitt County alumni chapters are known for their focus on political awareness and host annual legislative conferences. The chapters understand that in order for us to make changes and advocate for our communities, it is crucial for us to have a seat at the table. We must stay informed and politically engaged in order for us to make our voices heard and our communities represented. Now, therefore, I, P.J. Connolly, Mayor of the City of Greenville, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim the day of May 5th, 2025 as Delta Day in the City Council. In Greenville, Pitt County, North Carolina, extended best wishes to all of our communities as they hold appropriate ceremonies to commemorate this observance. This first day of May 2025, about to be signed, Mayor P.J. Connolly. Let's give them a round of applause. All right, let me just say, it is incredibly difficult to have a speech when you've got this many beautiful ladies around you and trying to read everything correctly. But thank you to the Deltas. Come on up. He was just jealous.
He was, and he was.
Thank you, ladies. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Let me sign this.
I know. Ken is usually on my side. I can't believe his betrayal. I know. We are.
Thank you.
But we're going to show some race. Yeah, we stopped at 20.
I got you. You got last week.
Tag right up there.
Wade Wilson.
Wade Wilson. How about that? Which one is he?
He's the young man over there.
Okay. He's not doing anything.
All right, Madam Clerk,
Okay,
our next public comment speaker.
yes.
Hey, it's gonna be tough to beat that right there.
Last speaker is Mr. Wade Wilson. You have 3 minutes to address the mayor and council.
Let's throw some light on stage.
Good evening, y'all. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, council. Thank everyone for being here, and congratulations to you all. Well deserved. I'll keep this brief in large part because I wish this wasn't an issue in our community at all. Camping World. I have a few times over the last month tried to reach out to Camping World, both locally and their national headquarters, to try to just hear their side of this issue and make sure I'm as informed as possible and giving all perspectives, including the stakeholders themselves, the benefit of the doubt. And I've been very disappointed with Camping World's lack of transparency or really responses at all. And again, I'm not making this about me, but I think it's emblematic of a business coming in, knowingly violating our city's ordinances, and then refusing to change course work collaboratively, pay the fines in the full amount. It's just very disappointing. And I want to highlight something. I finally received a email. I've never received a call, but the email in its entirety was, "Dear Mr. Wilson, we value your feedback and acknowledge that people's love of the flag is complicated. Thank you, Camping World customer service team." And yeah, I mean, people's love of the flag is complicated, and I love that flag. I love my country. Breaking the law is not complicated. It is pretty clear. I'm sorry they violated the ordinance. I would love to see if we could collaboratively work out a new ordinance and work out some sort of resolution to this. I know all of y'all are trying. I'm just extraordinarily disappointed with Camping World, particularly their CEO, really just their CEO, because I think the rest of the staff is doing their best and trying to do what they can in an understandably tough situation. But it's just really a bummer that this has dominated the local discussion. And to end my public comment here, every single speaker who spoke before me tonight, the issues they brought up were way more important than this, in the sense that this shouldn't be an issue, it never should have been an issue, and it wouldn't have been an issue if the law had been followed. And that's all I have to say. Let's be mindful of what matters, and let's uphold the rule of law, because that's what that flag's about to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Wade.
Madam Clerk, our next speaker.
So that is the end of our registered speakers. I will also advise that is the end of our 30-minute time.
All right.
Okay.
Hey, does anybody want to, we good?
We're good.
All right. That ends public comment period. We'll move on to consent agenda.
Consent agenda. All right, thank you, Mayor. Item number 1, resolution and interlocal agreement with the City of Kinston, North Carolina for code enforcement staff training. Item number 2, municipal agreement with the North Carolina Department of Transportation for the Community Center Pathway Project. Item number 3, municipal agreement with the North Carolina Department of Transportation for the Arlington Boulevard Sidewalk Project. Item number 4, municipal agreements with the North Carolina Department of Transportation for betterments and landscape maintenance associated with the NCDOT Allen Road Improvement Project. Item number 5, resolution authorizing the filing of an application with the North Carolina Department of Transportation Integrated Mobility Division for the Multimodal Planning Grant Program and delegation of authority to submit assurances and executive grant agreement. Item number 6, second amendment to the management agreement between the City of Greenville and Indigo Sports, LLC for management of Bradford Creek Public Golf Course. Item number 7, resolution approving a lease agreement with U.S. Bank Equipment Finance for cardio exercise equipment for the Greenville Aquatics and Fitness Center. Item number 8, request to purchase new additional equipment for the Public Works Sanitation Division. Item number 9, contract award for the 2025 Stormwater Repairs Project and approval of task order number 9 for construction engineering and inspection and construction materials testing on-call contract. Item number 10, contract with Cherry Beckert LLP for auditing services for fiscal year 2024-25. And finally, item number 11, various tax refunds greater than $100.
Councilmember Blackburn.
I'd like to pull item number 6 off the consent agenda.
Anybody else? Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve?
Second.
All right. Motion's been made by Councilmember Blackburn, second by Councilmember Willis. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay.
Motion passes
We shall
5-0.
move on to item number 6.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 6, second amendment to the management agreement between the City of Greenville and Indigo Sports, LLC for management of Bradford Creek Public Golf Course. I'll ask our Executive Director, Don Octagon, just to be available to answer any questions you may have.
Good evening.
Hey, thank you so much. I see you've got a great big notebook, so you can probably answer any questions. Mostly, I was not on the council because Bradford Creek used to be, as you know, run and managed by the city, and I believe it was 2018 when we contracted with
That's
this
correct,
company.
yes, ma'am.
So my question is, I see in the notes that at some point there was a city implemented management plan. And I think my question in general is, this for me as a council member is the first time I'm seeing this. Is that working well? You know, having it, a private management versus it being managed by the city, and then the city implemented management plan, is that going as expected?
Yes, that's a great question. It's going very well. I think the golf course now is, just reviewed the financial reports for this year, and all the rounds of golf have increased for the past 3 years, and this year they're staying the same, meaning they're continuing to grow. Not seeing as much of an increase this year, but it's large the partnership with Indigo Golf. I mean, it's been a great one. We're doing a lot of mutual projects out there as far as the capital of the golf course. But yes, and when it says management plan, all we're doing is meeting with staff. We're just communicating with them, sharing our expectations of the city, and they're implementing their plan to meet our expectations. So it's going great, and you're right. I mean, it's gone. We're seeing more rounds of golf than we have in the last 5 years, and it's continuing to grow.
And the staff out there, they're still city employees.
They're not city employees. They're employees of Indigo Sports.
So it has now, it operates it as its own.
That's correct. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I'll put it in a little bit better in perspective. When we went into this contract, we were losing $250,000 a year at that golf course, and the number of rounds have continued to decrease. Since that time, we have entered into a contract management agreement where we are engaged on a daily basis with the management of the course. Not only are we not losing $250,000, we're making $150,000, and the number of rounds continue to increase. This is a little static year, but up to this point, they've continued to increase, and the course is probably in as better shape than it's ever been.
And I'll say too, it's not so much that we want the city to make money off of a public good, but when you look at it from the perspective of, we were putting $250,000 of city funds into the golf course to subsidize it. Now those funds are readily available for something else, hopefully in the Recreation and Parks Department, to enhance our city in a positive manner. So I think that's a huge positive, and I'm hopeful that the profit that we're making from the golf course is getting reinvested into the golf course to make improvements, to continue to enhance the type of play that people expect out of Bradford Creek.
That's correct. And Indigo Sports LLC has made an investment toward the golf course, and they're helping us with projects. In fact, the profits that we had last year going directly back into the course by repairing irrigation and improving many aspects of the course.
And as part of that, do they fund the improvements?
Yes, ma'am. They assist with the funding of it. So the city used the profits from last year that we received towards that project, so it's going directly back to the golf course to improve it and to ensure we're providing a quality experience for our golfers.
Okay,
It's a great
Pretty
partnership.
awesome,
It's working
huh?
very well.
thank you.
Would you like to make the motion to approve?
I can, yeah, motion to approve.
Second.
All right, motion made by Councilmember Blackburn, second by Councilmember Scully. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay.
Motion passes 5-0.
Let's move on to new business. Item number 12.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Item number 12, construction contract award to Trader Construction Company for the Town Common Bulkhead and Esplanade project. I'll now call forward our Parks Planner, Mark Nottingham, for the presentation.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council.
Good evening.
Tonight, big step in Town Common Bulkhead project. As you may remember, the need for the project, we had a structural assessment done in 2022, found that it was overstressed beyond its capacity. It's also aged out. It's almost 60 years old, so it's beyond its serviceable life. So the scope of the project is roughly 1,600 feet of steel sheet pile bulkhead, and also some park improvements on the park side of the bulkhead. So we're going to take a little bit closer look at the overall design, just laid out. This is starting on the west end. So there's an existing stand of trees, so there will be a proposed nature walk through those trees, and then an elevated boardwalk with the overlook platform that stretches over the river. This is the central portion of the project. It's anchored on either end by two plazas. In between, there's a couple rain gardens and also some concrete terrace seating. Oh, go back here real quick. We are making improvements to the loading dock portion of the amphitheater. This will accommodate larger, vehicles for performing artists, so larger tour buses, that type of thing. So looking at the west plaza, there will be some shaded terrace seating areas. And then on the east end, there will be a better connection between the Town Creek Bridge and the multi-use path that goes through the park. So this will create a ADA compliant, safer route of travel from the bridge all the way through the park. And then also on the east end, there's going to be a boardwalk with some bench swings that have shade on them. And then some terrace seating that'll lead down closer to the river to a floating dock that'll be 160 feet long. So April 15th, we received a construction bid from Trader Construction for $14.3 million. Contract time is estimated at 400 days. And we also received a proposal from Moffitt Nickel, the design firm, for task order number 3, which totals just over $500,000 for construction administration services. That'll be the next item on your agenda. So the total construction budget is estimated at $18.5 million. So that includes Trader's contract plus contingency, and then the construction administration fees for Moffitt Nickel. So just break down real quick. Design costs were $1.1 million. That was funded through ARPA funds. Construction costs will be the $5 million we received from the state, and then $14 million from the city's capital debt service fund. So tonight, we're asking for recommendation to award a construction contract to Trader in the amount of $14,337,500, and also designate a 25% contingency towards the project for $3.5 million. I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Councilmember Blackburn.
First of all, what a happy, happy, happy moment this is. I could not be happier. The contingency, we don't pay that unless it's needed. That's just a fund in case there's need
Correct.
for it. Okay, all right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? I definitely want to say thank you to our city staff for putting in a lot of time and effort in multiple different fronts. First and foremost, about getting the funding from the state to help out with the construction. Second of all, I think our cost estimates were about $24 million when we first looked at this, and to be able to come in and secure a bid for nearly $10 million less, you know, we've got a 25% contingency in there, but still, that's a significant savings for the citizens of Greenville. And so I want to say thank you to our staff for working hard to be able to, I don't know if we value engineered it, or maybe we just got lucky, you know, with some of the costs, but
It's all about time.
whatever the case is, thank you guys for working hard. This is a major project for our city. We always talk about how Town Common is Greenville's Central Park. We want to make sure that we maintain it and continue the opportunities that are down there. We've had many discussions about, you know, potential future plans down there, and I think it's important that we preserve what's there. And by fixing our bulkhead down there, that's a step in the right direction. Hopefully we'll have more outstanding announcements in the future to enhance that park even more. So thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anybody want to make a motion?
Oh, I'll make a motion to approve.
All right. Motion's been made by Councilmember Blackburn, second by Councilmember Willis. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, moving on to item number 13, I want to ask Mr. Nottingham to stay right there. Our professional services contract award to Moffitt and Nickel for task order number 3 for construction administration services related to the Town Common Bulkhead and Esplanade project. Turn it over again to Mr. Nottingham.
All right, so this is a part of the project. This will help us through construction. The scope of work includes retaining the design firms, which is made up of structural engineers as well as landscape architects to provide project management services, weekly inspections and reports, require pre-construction surveys for endangered aquatic species and potential relocations. That's a requirement of our permits, submittal reviews, responses to contractor RFIs, punch lists, post-construction surveys, and permit closeouts. So we're asking for award for task order number 3 to Moffitt Nickel for these services, amount of $538,554.
I'll move to approve. Second.
All right, motion been made by Councilmember Blackburn, second by Councilmember, let me say over here. Foreman, I'm sorry. I thought I heard somebody over here. Maybe it was-
I keep trying, but it's all right.
She beat you to it. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. I'd like to give a shout out to Mark Nottingham. He's done one heck of an outstanding job through this whole entire process. Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Item number 14, a professional service contract award for design, easement, acquisition, and construction administration services on the drainage improvements and stream restoration at East Fire Tower Road project and resolution authorizing the execution of grant agreement and assurances with the North Carolina Department of Public Safety, Disaster Relief, and Mitigation Fund. I'll now call forward our civil engineer, Lynn Rayner, for the presentation.
All right. Thank you for saying all of that, Mr. City Manager. And good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of council.
Good evening.
So we'll jump right into this. This project was identified as a priority project in the Fort Swamp Watershed Master Plan. It is located along Fire Tower Road in the area of Bayswater Road, west of Quarry Road. The current culvert is woefully undersized, flooding the roadway in the 2-year rain event. Given that this section of Fire Tower Road sees 33,000 vehicles per day, that's quite significant. And currently, it would have the potential to impact and reduce flooding for between 80 and 90 residences in the Treetop Circle, East Fire Tower Road, and Summerhaven Drive area. This is a larger map from the previous slide. At location 1, we are looking to install twin reinforced concrete box culverts at the tributary crossing there. At locations 2 and 3 on the map, we are looking to create approximately 5,200 linear feet of floodplain benching. So back in February, staff advertised a request for qualifications. We received 3 proposals that were reviewed by 3 engineering staff members. Each of the staff members individually ranked those proposals and ranked the Kimley Horn and Associates team number 1. So this contract will be organized in 3 task orders as shown here. The one before you tonight is task order number 1 for final design. At appropriate times as design progresses throughout the project, we will scope and negotiate task orders 2 and 3 and bring those back to council for approval. Here we see some of the base services that are a part of task order 1 for design, with a recommended fee for task order 1 shown at the bottom of the screen of $1.58 million. The second part of your agenda item tonight involves the grant funding. What you see here, the first grant is an existing grant that has already been received by the city for $9.205 million FEMA BRIC grant. Currently, we have a Phase 1 grant agreement executed with FEMA for $936,000. The part of the agenda tonight it deals with the second grant that has been received in the amount of $1.5 million from the Disaster Relief and Mitigation Fund. That would involve council approving the resolution to authorize receipt of that funding. So with that, you have staff's recommendation to approve task order 1 for the fee shown and execute the grant agreement. Any questions?
Any questions?
Question. Is that BRIC grant, is that in jeopardy in any way?
Do you want to? I do notice we are receiving limited information on grant funding at this time. I think Director Kirby has some additional information she may want to share with you, but summary to say we still have a lot of questions.
So as a whole, the BRIC program is seeing a lot of changes. The 24 applications that were due in December were ultimately pushed off and the program was canceled. That's not the one we were awarded under. And, you know, the fortunate piece for North Carolina is that for whatever reason, not for whatever reason, because of Helene, there's a lot of disaster mitigation funding that's available in North Carolina. So what the state has chosen to do is they're pushing off BRIC applications that were canceled to the HMGP program. So North Carolina has about $2 billion that they need to spend under that HMGP program. And that fund is available to anyone in North Carolina. So that speaks to the future of BRIC. These were awarded before the program was canceled. My understanding, the guidance that we have right now, is that phase 2 has the potential to be canceled, which is construction. Our funding for design currently is intact, and we have signed grant agreements or contracts for that funding.
So
And that's what we're awarding tonight.
The $9 million for construction is in fact in jeopardy.
Mm-hmm. With the exception of the phase 1, which was the $936,000. So that one we have a signed contract for.
It's difficult to make plans when you have a project scoped out, a project that's needed, and a project that ostensibly had been funded and suddenly is up in the air and in jeopardy. Not your fault at all. This comes from the federal level, and it's too bad. Thank you for going over that information.
I will add too, with HMGP, it is 100% funded. So if we do qualify for that program, there will be zero cost share from the city of Greenville. So,
And we will pursue those dollars.
yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? I will say, though, I appreciate the city identifying this issue and going out and securing funding for it. I remember back in 2016 when Hurricane Matthew hit our area, I remember I represented District 5 at that time, and I remember getting pictures of people's backyards and the floodwaters coming up from that ditch, the Fork Swamp back there, coming into their backyard and almost going into the back of their house. We've had a lot of major construction that's taken place in that area, a lot of growth since when Councilmember Robinson used to ride his horse to school every day back in the day. So we've had a lot of development over there. So I know that it is greatly needed to make sure that we keep up with that infrastructure. So thank you guys for working hard on that and making sure that we can address that area in our community.
I can only echo that because I live in a house back there behind treetops, so I know when the flood came, it was like got as close as you can get without coming into the house. I'm glad this project is underway.
Which makes it that much more disheartening when funds that have been approved are interrupted. I think we need to continue to elevate that.
All right, anybody want to make a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, motion's been made by
Give it to
Councilmember
them.
Scully,
Give it to them.
second by Councilmember Blackburn.
I'll take it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, we'll move on to the next item.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Item number 15, authorization to extend sewer services by Greenville Utility Commissions to the proposed Pitt County mega site property without requiring a petition for voluntary annexation. Now call forward Assistant City Manager
Bring
Deanne
out the
Alexander
big
for
guns.
presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. As Mr. Manager stated, this is the authorization to extend sewer services to the proposed Pitt County mega site property without requiring a petition for voluntary annexation. So just an overview of the mega site. When we talk about a mega site, this concept is a national concept, and this led to the authorization of the mega site readiness program by the General Assembly in the 2022 budget, with an ultimate goal of identifying, supporting, and expediting mega site preparation, and to improve competitive positioning for major manufacturing opportunities, and last but certainly not least, first and foremost, to benefit the community by being able to attract major companies and investments, creating jobs and stimulating economic growth. So when we talk about what is a mega site, it is essentially a parcel of contiguous property of more than 1,000 acres, and it's become viable for industrial development. When we talk about mega sites, they do require a significant amount of infrastructure, such as roads and utilities, in order to be shovel-ready for a prospective company. The state, at one point the state, with the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina, which is a state entity developed in 2014, they conducted a third-party analysis to identify up to 5 most viable sites through a statewide solicitation. And what ultimately came of that were 30 proposals were submitted, and instead of 5, they actually identified 7 sites. one of the sites being here in Pitt County. And so in addition to that, it was Brunswick County, Cumberland County, Edgecombe County, Nash County, Rowan County, and Wilson County. So when we talk about the selection process, I want to zoom in on the specific site here in Pitt County. This is the site right here. As you can see, it is adjacent to Saintsville Road, Alpine Taylor Road, and it runs along Highway 11. And just some specs about this particular site. So I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation that a mega site has to consist of at least 1,000 or more acres. This particular site is about 3,300 acres. The current zoning is rural agricultural, and that'll be relevant as I continue through the presentation. It does have access to a 4-lane highway, which is US 13. It has access, easy access to an interstate, which is I-95. It currently has capacity for water, sewer, natural gas, power, and also telecom. And then actually I want to go back just to point out that also Briley Road is another road that is adjacent to this particular property. So I do want to make mention of that. So, and when it became a finalist site, there were some site strengths, some weaknesses, and some identified needs. When we talk about site strengths, first and foremost, it's got a single property owner. Throughout the presentations that we've had in the community, you will hear that this makes things a lot easier. It's harder to work with properties that might have multiple owners. So this was a very rare gem in that it does belong to a single property owner. The property has been well maintained. It does have access to water and sewer capacities, also power and natural gas. It's very flat throughout the site. It's got relative location to the future I-87 regional airport with Pitt Greenville Airport right down the road, and then air and port accessibility. Some of the site weaknesses, which I will talk about a little more later in the presentation, deal with the environmental features and the potential permitting challenges, and also the rail service to the north, so the lack of close rail service. There were some identified needs in the ultimate report that EDP&C produced, in that we needed to do some due diligence to evaluate the recommended improvements, including mainly the infrastructure, so roads, water, and wastewater. So this particular slide speaks to the anticipated order of magnitude, and these are essentially the costs that are estimated, just estimates, in terms of what it would take to design and ultimately be able to construct and build out the site so that it is ready for a prospective company. This is information that was based on information and data as of May 2023. And I do want to point out, although it's $451 million, all of this funds would not be expended at one time. This is a phased development, and it'll take about 5 to 15 years from full realization of the actual site. So I want to talk a little bit about the EDP&C Mega Site Readiness Program. So I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation that this was authorized in the General Assembly's 2022 budget. And so they have allotted funding for the program or the site study. They've also allotted funding for site due diligence and site development. So this totals a little over $108 million that is available to the city or the applicant, at the time we are ready to move forward with applications of funds. And so that funding is awarded on a first come, first served basis. So when we talk more in detail about the readiness program, I mentioned earlier that they've identified the 7 sites for preferred development and marking, Pitt County being one of them. Their role is also to assist local governments or a partnership of local governments in the acquisition, site due diligence, and site preparation of the mega site. They support local government partnerships in an effort to analyze, plan, install, and or upgrade the public infrastructure. And then last but not least, they help to facilitate coordination of economic development agencies and partners at both the state and local level. So DEQ, DOT, all of these individual agencies will be involved at some point to see the site through. So I want to talk a little bit about the eligible applicants, because there will have to be an applicant that applies to the state to receive the funding that's available. And so it must be completed by the applicant seeking the grant related to the mega site. And this boils down to one of the 7 sites that we've identified here tonight. They must be a local government or a government partnership, which is defined as a North Carolina 501c3 nonprofit partnership with one or more local governments or a group of local governments. And as we go along, you'll learn that the first bullet is where we will more than likely find ourselves with Greenville ENC Alliance and Pitt County applying for funding. So in order to be eligible for the funding, the applicant must either own the property or have a sales contract or option agreement to purchase the property. In order to get the due diligence funding that I spoke about earlier, the option must be valid for at least 2 years after the grant award. And in order to receive the site development funding, the option must be valid for at least 5 years after the actual grant award. And the other piece of this is that the applicant must demonstrate that the property is zoned for economic development, and I'll talk a little more about that as I proceed. So in terms of the site due diligence, there's been a lot of conversations in terms of environmental issues with the site, trees, wildlife, flood property, stormwater mitigation. And so what I will say is that there will be a multitude of assessments and reports that will be required, because this is government funding that comes with stipulations in terms of what that looks like on the backside. So there'll be preliminary engineering reports, assessments related to the transportation infrastructure, phase 1, phase 2 environmental assessments, wetland and stream determination, and then of course a threatened and endangered species report. And this is not an exhaustive list. This is just some of the reports and assessments that will be required as we move along. In terms of site acquisition, they help with binding option or offer to purchase, completion of all the basic due diligence, and then there's got to be a demonstration that the funds are available and willingness to pay for the balance of acquisition costs to the site. And what you see here is that they will award the maximum amount of what's lesser than 85% of either the purchase price of the property or the tax value of the property. And so what I will say here is that the additional 15% that will be required will either come from Greenville ENC Alliance or Pitt County. They will have to figure out how to fund that 15%. It will not come from the city. There will also be a need for public infrastructure. I've talked about roads and access to the site. The infrastructure must be publicly owned to meet the needs of the prospective employers. On-site infrastructure may only be considered if the applicant owns the site. And last but not least, upgrade and or installation of water, wastewater, gas, electric, stormwater, roads, highways, bridges must also be owned by either a governmental entity or a 501c3 nonprofit. So on-site preparation, again, to be eligible for this particular funding, the applicant must own the land on which the activities are funded. And then the eligible activities for this part of funding are clearing and or grading of the site, and then other related expenses in the discretion of EDP&C. So this is just a quick schedule of the quarters. They fund these applications based on their quarterly meetings, essentially. And so the path we are currently on, like I want to stress that this is not a fast process. We will be taking this slow. But on the proposed schedule or timeline that we're currently on, we would be looking at being able to apply for the funding in Q3 cycle. And this is just a slide showing the grant awards that have been approved to date. So the good news is that there's still money left in the pot for us to be eligible for once we've met all the boxes. So just overall, in terms of the mega site readiness program conclusions, we are well positioned for this type of investment by targeted industries. We simply need to make sure we have a site that is ready and we're providing the infrastructure to be able to meet those needs. These types of programs, as I mentioned at the beginning, it's a national concept. So these types of programs already exist in other states. For us to be able to remain competitive, we've got to proactively and preemptively have a strong readiness program. So as I've mentioned previously, this is a long process. It'll usually take about 5 to 15 years from the time the mega site is identified through actual development and realization of a project or recruitment of a company. So I want to talk specifics about our Pitt County mega site. So this is a zoomed out picture. It is located north of Greenville and west of Highway 11. I mentioned earlier that it is approximately 3,300 acres. Currently, the property is owned by Weyerhaeuser, and it is a working forest managed to provide wood to local lumber and pulp mills. This is just a zoomed in version. It shows the location where it's adjacent to Saintsville Road, Alpine Taylor Road, Briley Road, and Highway 11. And I will say, so you see this Weyerhaeuser property boundary. The entire site is 10,000 acres, and we have carved out 3,300 acres for purposes of the mega site. This is just an example of what development could look like on this particular property, and it also shows a line that shows the new access road coming in from Highway 11. Another example of access and potential development. And this is what it could look like as a full build out for purposes of being the North Industrial Park. So right now, of course, you all know we have Indigo, which is almost at capacity, Indigo Corporate Park, almost at capacity. And so this is what this particular site could look like at full build out. So talk a little bit about utility infrastructure, which is what we're here to get approval for tonight. So Greenville Utilities Commission will support the site with all necessary utilities, including electric. Build-out costs approximately $72 million. There is existing infrastructure to the southern portion of the site, and GUC will work with the team to be able to determine the most cost-effective solution. Water is also currently available, and the cost to build that infrastructure out is about $44.2 million. I don't know what's on that slide. Wastewater, approximately $41.8 million. There is a pump station less than 1 mile from the site with a 6-inch force main. More capacity is available for that particular component, and also natural gas with a build out of about $29.5 million. The nearest line is about 10 inches south of the property, or 6 miles. And the current way in which we get natural gas is that it's purchased on the open market through contracts. So just overall, we are fortunate that we've got a strong utility system to be able to sustain future economic development in the region. The extension of utility services costs will be expensive, or it's significant in terms of time, cost between design and construction. Based on all of the numbers I presented tonight, we're estimating it to exceed $180 million for all phases of that particular component of infrastructure. And so I will just put a caveat here that the information I presented about infrastructure is only relative to the utilities. This doesn't include the investments that it'll take to create or build roads and highways to make this site shovel ready. So just want to put that caveat out there. So we have, I'm switching gears, and we're going to talk about our community outreach engagement. And I will say that we have had a very robust community and outreach engagement plan. We distributed 4,000 flyers through door-to-door visits, community centers, and local organizations. I will say City Manager Cowan had us going from Greenville to Bethel, and then Greenville back up to Belvoir on Highway 33. We covered the grounds. We have created a dedicated page on the project website for the mega site, along with information about public meetings. We've advertised all of that on the city calendar and the city's websites. We've placed ads in local newspapers specific to the Daily Reflector and the Daily Drum. We promoted the public meetings as part of the city's monthly City Beat radio show. We had multiple social media posts in addition to posts that we had prior to each public meeting that was held. And then we also ran a bulletin on GTV. We are trying to ensure full transparency throughout this development process. And so that's why it's been so robust. So we did have 4 tailored public information sessions: Monday, March 31st, one on Thursday, April 3rd, one on Tuesday, April 8th, and one on Thursday, April 17th. And that was at a mix of locations within the county, and then also a virtual session. We achieved a total of about 160 persons who attended at least one of each of those meetings. And then we will have ongoing opportunities. So this is not the end of our public engagement. As we continue to work through each of the phases that it's going to take to develop the site, we will continue having public input. That'll be through public hearings. That'll be required for the rezoning processes. And also we will maintain our dedicated project website. So within the community outreach and engagement sessions, this is just a list of some of the most common inquiries we've had to date. And as I go on through my next few slides, there will be some specific questions, and I will provide some of the answers that go along with it. but probably our number one piece of feedback was stormwater control, about concerns with flooding in the area, and then specific mitigation of impacts regarding community impacts, environmental impacts, industry impacts, and then potential impacts to property values, and then annexation. The city forcing either this particular property, the mega site, or properties that are adjacent to the site being required to annex into the city limits. So I'll start kind of clicking through. Like I said, I've got some questions that are specific to some of these. So first and foremost, does the city plan to annex the proposed Pitt County mega site on properties or properties adjacent to the site? And so, no, we are not in a position to force people to annex. Involuntary annexation is no longer a thing in the general statutes. And so we will not be receiving any of the future property tax revenue from the development of the mega site. The only thing we're here to do, and our sole involvement at this point, is for us to be able to authorize sewer to be extended to the mega site, as this will be required for future development. I will say this was a question that came up. So once sewer has been extended, or you all authorize sewer to be extended and we actually extend it, the surrounding property owners will have an opportunity to voluntarily request to be able to tie in to the city and hook into the extended sewer service. So since the city will not be requiring or encouraging annexation into the city and will not be receiving any additional property tax revenue, what's in it for the city? So this particular site has the potential to create a large regional impact in terms of creation of jobs that will pay living wages. We're dealing with some situations now where Eastern North Carolina is reducing in population, and the opportunity for residents to earn a living wage is becoming more challenging. So this particular opportunity with the mega site would provide an opportunity for residents of Eastern North Carolina and provide a boost to the region's economy. So that's that regional impact. So with the more jobs, more opportunity equals greater quality of life and a positive economic impact. So stormwater, I'm concerned about flooding. What is the developer doing to mitigate any potential impacts for stormwater? And so I mentioned at the beginning, or towards the beginning of this presentation, that there will be a lot of due diligence that will be required before we can develop this particular site. And as part of that process will be assessments regarding stormwater to determine if the property can even be developed. So that's one thing we're facing is if we have to come to the conclusion that the property can't be developed, that might stop the project. But we will, of course, be looking for alternatives before we get to that point, but that could be a potential outcome after we start running assessments. So in terms of stormwater, the development of the mega site will require adherence to strict state and local guidelines for stormwater detention and mitigation. The general rule is that stormwater runoff can be no greater after development than it was before development. We will implement, or development of the site will require implementation of control measures. This could be retention ponds or reduction in nitrogen and phosphorus in terms of trying to, like I said, help mitigate stormwater. And then last but certainly not least, there will be ongoing maintenance that's required after construction. I live adjacent to the planned mega site, and I'm concerned that the mega site will impact my quality of life. What will the developer do to mitigate any potential impact? So again, this goes back to that same requirement that we'll have to do due diligence, and there will be multiple assessments that'll be performed to understand if the property can be developed for industrial purposes. I will say the preliminary discussions that we've had amongst the development team is that there would be the provision of a 500-foot buffer from existing residential property, an additional conservation overlay of at least 100 feet, and that will be from the property line, not just from the mega site. That'll be from the actual 10,000 acre property line of what Weyerhaeuser currently owns. We will be mindful in the recruiting of future industrial partners, such that it's not a company that creates offensive environmental conditions such as smoke, noise, and bright lights. The county, city, and alliance are committed to continually communicating with the community to ensure that the development of the project is done in a way to minimize any impact on quality of life. So that goes back to that transparency. We are including people in every step of the conversation. is the county city willing to negotiate a more significant buffer zone around the mega site? So I've mentioned the 500-foot buffer zone and also the 100-foot conservation overlay. And so what we have provided, they are simply proposals. There is an opportunity for there to be some additional negotiations, but this would happen at the county level. So when the applicant comes to request a rezoning of the property, that would be the time for the residents or the public to come forward to talk about what some additional buffers might be with the particular site. So I will say that we've exerted a good faith effort to select the best location using typical setbacks, and they were at least met and in most cases exceeded. So that 500-foot buffer is not typically what you would probably see. So there is a county ordinance that prohibits use of firearms within X number of feet. For those of us that will be 100 to 200 feet from the site, are we no longer allowed to hunt on our own land anymore? So this was a big deal. There's a large agricultural industry of private property owners in North Greenville. And so this became one of their concerns about being able to hunt. And so the Pitt County Board of County Commissioners considered an ordinance to restrict the use of firearms, but it did not pass. In lieu of that, they did pass two ordinances that do prohibit discharging a firearm at night and discharging a firearm across property lines, and there are some exceptions to that. So this includes licensed hunting, defense of property, or an order from law enforcement are the exceptions to that rule of, like I said, what Pitt County passed most recently. What will happen to the trees and animals on the Pitt County mega site? So this site has historically been utilized by Weyerhaeuser to harvest timber for its pulp business. They'll have to address these particular plans around timbering the site and managing the property while it's in the development process, and this will more than likely be consistent with how they've managed the property up to this point. Again, during the due diligence process, we will take appropriate measures to evaluate for any potential impacts to existing environmental conditions. I've mentioned this throughout the presentation that it will take years for this property to be developed, and it will be developed in phases. And so this approach will reduce any projected impact on trees and animals. So where will the new roads be built and what will be the impact to the community? So when I showed the maps, I specifically spoke about access to the site from Highway 11. They would create a new access road. And that would be a 4-lane access road to connect the property. There might be an additional need for transportation infrastructure after a transportation assessment is conducted. And this traffic impact analyses will be conducted as part of due diligence and mitigation to avoid overburdening residential roads, and identifying strategic locations of access will be key priorities in those particular discussions. And based on any input that we receive from the community, that we're committed to utilizing all efforts to design and construct the mega site as to not overburden residential roads. We've heard a lot of feedback about Briley Road specifically, so that'll be evaluated during the due diligence process. Has a decision already been made to move forward? And so no, the decision has not been made to move forward. As I've mentioned throughout this presentation, there will be a significant amount of due diligence to determine which parts, if any, of the proposed mega site could even be developed for industrial purposes. If the site can be developed, a significant amount of financial support will be needed at the state level to begin the design and construction phase of the project. So we, the city, county, and ENC, will continue working directly with the community each step of the way to be transparent and ensure that everybody is well informed and that the project is being designed and constructed in a way to minimize any impact to the community and the environment. So those were the frequently asked questions. So moving on in terms of our actual timeline and the local administrative requirements for moving forward. This is where we are tonight. The city has to authorize GUC to extend sewer to the mega site property. At that point, it will then go to Pitt County to approve the property rezoning requests. And so the property will need to be rezoned from rural agricultural to general industrial. And so that'll be the request at the county. There will be a need to secure the option to purchase the property. It will be non-binding. And last but not least, the application will need to be submitted to EDP&C for the due diligence funding that I've spoken about here tonight. This is just the timeline. We've made it through March and April with the 4 public information sessions that we've held. In April of 2025, GUC's board did approve the authorization of sewer to the site. We're here tonight to request authorization for extension of the sewer from City Council. Next will be the rezoning request that will be presented to Pitt County Planning Board for approval. And based on the way we're flowing, the anticipated schedule is that the applicant would be able to request this rezoning from the Planning Board in June of 2025. And then it would go to the Board of Commissioners in July of 2025. And like I said, that's just an anticipated schedule. In June, July, the option to purchase will be secured on the property. It will be non-binding. July of 2025, there will be the rezoning request submitted to the Pitt County Commissioners for approval. And then last but not least, July and August, the application to receive the grant funding would be submitted to EDP&C for consideration. So the request tonight is for authorization to be able to extend the sewer to the megasite property. The property is in the unincorporated area of Pitt County. And as a result, GUC's charter requires approval of the City Council to extend sewer when the property is located outside of the city's jurisdiction. So that means it's outside of our city limits and outside of our extraterritorial jurisdiction. The filing of a petition for annexation before an application for an extension or connection to the sewer is only required when the property is in the extraterritorial jurisdiction. So once we get through this step tonight, the applicant will be able to proceed with next steps of requesting the rezoning of the mega site from rural agricultural to general industrial. And so with that being said, city staff is recommending approval of the request to authorize Greenville Utilities Commission to extend sewer to the proposed Pitt County mega site. And so with that, if there are any questions, we'll be happy to answer them. I will say we've got our other partners here tonight to answer any specific detailed questions as might be necessary.
Do you think you could do that one more time? Just once.
Great presentation.
Before Marion starts, I don't have any questions.
Hey, you and I were on the same page on that one.
I got one quick question.
Okay.
All right, that's okay. But before that gets started, I don't have any questions. I do have a comment, however. Just for the citizens that are here that may not be fully familiar with this, as well as the ones that are watching, because of the extent of this project, I press very hard for us to have community engagement, because we want our citizens to be proactively involved in things that are happening that impact our day-to-day lived experiences, not reactively, which is what has traditionally happened. With that being said, Danae just outlined an extensive amount of community engagement that has happened, with about 160 people participating in all of the things that were offered. Now, that sounds pretty good from one end, but when we have 100,000 citizens almost, that is really not as good as we would like to see it. Community engagement is only as effective as the number of citizens that participate. So that's number one. Number two, this is extremely important, not just for the citizens north of the river, but for citizens all over our city and our county. North Carolina, Pitt County, and the city of Greenville are experiencing an extreme amount of what I call targeted economic growth. Because, partly, what seems to be expensive to us when investors and developers are looking at it is pretty inexpensive. And so with it impacting our entire area, it would explain a lot of the things that are happening right now that we have questions about. Number one being the number of gas stations that seem to be being sprinkled around the community, as well as apartment complexes and things of that sort that are popping up. Investors and developers do their homework, like any good business person would, and they know what's coming. What is potentially coming, what's already here and potentially coming with this mega site is jobs. We've got Boviet Solar that's already here offering 900 plus jobs. NIPRO, planning to locate here, offering 200+ jobs, and this mega site would, in reiteration, offer up to 3,000 jobs. That's a lot of people moving here. And so that would explain a lot of things that are going on. We need to be thinking about that. And I'm going to reiterate one more time that we need to be proactively involved, because that gives us an opportunity to have input on what would impact our day-to-day lived experiences. Just wanted to stress that. Now, Mary.
The hard act to follow. Go ahead, Michael.
And I would like to echo that. I am extremely proud of the efforts that the city and the county have gone through to try to be as proactive as possible, because it is very important to me and the county manager that we look at this as a long-term partnership with the community, all centered around jobs. But if I have one thing to say to the community here tonight, is that this is not the end of the city's part in this. It's just the beginning.
That's right.
This is a long-term project that we are committed to walking step in step with the community and to develop this in a smart way that's not only going to create new jobs for our, not just Pitt County, but all of Eastern North Carolina,
That's right.
but to do it in a smart way. And if it gets to the point where in this process that we hear certain things where we don't want traffic going down Briley Road, we will not go down Briley Road. We're going to do this in a way to develop this, that the community. Now, I'll also say, if you're looking to develop a mega site that's going to have no impact on anybody, it's not ever going to happen anywhere in this whole entire country. But our job is to minimize the impact on quality of life, all for the purpose of creating jobs. I am blessed that I grew up in Eastern North Carolina. I was born here and I'm going to
Same.
die here, and I never wanted to leave. But people that are born in this region of our state are forced with the fact that they do not have jobs that pay living wages,
That's right.
and they have to look for other opportunities elsewhere. This right here is not only just jobs, but it's the future of development in Eastern North Carolina. That's how strongly I believe this, because ultimately this impacts the Martin counties, the Lenore counties, the Wilson County, everyone that surrounds us. Our commitment is to do this in a smart way and to focus on building the infrastructure and make sure that we are attracting the industries that are going to be targeted based off of what's important to us: life sciences, automotive, advanced manufacturing, pharmaceutical, boat manufacturing, to target certain industries within our community. And I thank you for saying that, because a significant amount of effort has been made to be proactive, but it just does not end here tonight.
Absolutely. And I want to reiterate that that is stimulating, it's the catalyst to other growth that we're seeing. And we need to be equally as responsible in how that happens, but we can't do it alone. We need you.
I had one quick question, but I just want to say that I thank all of our staff and everyone who was involved in identifying the site and all the work that went on behind the scenes that we'll never know about. It just came to us finished, so very grateful for that. But I had a very small question that you're going to laugh at. Everybody's going to get tickled at, which is, who has standing when you go to request the rezoning? Is it Weyerhaeuser? Is it the group? Is it a partnership of some kind? Who actually makes that zoning request?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to say, so Weyerhaeuser currently owns the property, and at some point in the near future, there will be an option on the property. So technically, Weyerhaeuser could sign off on another party. So the party under contract on the property, they could sign off on giving them permission to go request the rezoning. So it could be between Weyerhaeuser and the party that has the option to purchase the property.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Willis.
I remember asking at our joint meeting with our county commissioners and ourselves, asking of Greenville Utilities if this expansion would result in a trickle-down effect to the consumers. Do we have an update on the answer on that? I think
Not to my knowledge.
No, ma'am. And I think it's really early in the process, too early to tell. We, quite frankly, don't even know if this property is developable until you go through the due diligence. Ultimately, while I don't speak on behalf of GUC, and while you would hear them never say that no, absolutely not, there will not be that trickle down. I can tell you that the goal would be, first of all, that you receive a significant amount of incentives from the state to implement, to input the infrastructure. That's why it's very important that we do the due diligence and get access to the dollars. Also, the implementation of infrastructure could be used through incentives for future industries to locate here. And then third, the investment that you have in the infrastructure would be earned back by the sale of power to the actual industry that's going to be located there. Because remember, when they install that infrastructure, it's for particular businesses to use it, who are then going to have to pay for it. So that's how they recoup their investment in the debt service needed to expand it. You can't say with 100% that it will not have that impact, but every move will be made so that it's not. Access to incentives from the state, provide incentives for infrastructure development for future industries to live to locate here, and then build it so that you recoup your investment from the actual utilization of the power on site.
Councilmember Scully?
Did I hear you say that after the sewer's laid, that properties there would have option to tie into it and exit? And that's a good thing.
That's correct, yes. It would be voluntary on their part, but that would be an option.
That's a nice
And
benefit
It is a nice
to
benefit.
this initial step.
Because because we have seen it, everybody, there's been a number of people at these meetings, public input meetings, that say, something's gotta be in it for the city of Greenville. What's your power grab here? I'm like, absolutely. All we're doing is allowing for GUC to extend the sewer. We're not requiring any annexations, we're gonna enter any tax revenues from this, but once that sewer's laid, it will provide the avenue for future economic development and let's just face it, in a part of our county significantly outside our city limits that needs development. If there's
Right.
anybody that has the benefit from this in the long term, it would be the areas of Bethel that need a lifeline to future development. And that's providing this future for them.
And I think that was the spark that kind of pushed us towards the Greenville ENC Alliance. You know, I think the purpose of that is to show that we have a collaborative process and we understand that all of Pitt County benefits from growth. We want to make it that way, right? I mean, we may not look at it directly that the mega site's going to be in the city limits, we're going to get tax revenue off of it, but many of those people are going to choose to buy houses here. They're going to go to our grocery stores, they're going to go to our retail locations and spend money in our community, and that's going to infuse money and improve the lives of other people in other ways that you don't necessarily generally see. You always think, oh, well, they're going to, if it's in the city limits, we're going to benefit out of it. But, you know, if we have 500 jobs that come into Farmville, North Carolina, it's going to benefit the city of Greenville, right? Because those people are either going to live here, they're going to spend money here, just like they would in any other community. So I appreciate that. One question I was going to ask, I noticed when we were going through some of the slides, we were talking about some of the other mega sites that were awarded some of the funding. And I noticed, I think there was one, what's the one that's up by, is it Kingsborough site up there, and in the due diligence they received, I think it was like $200-some thousand. Do we know, I guess our projection is that we're looking at about $10 million for due diligence. Is there a cap as far as what we can ask for from the state for the mega site? Because $10 million is a lot of money for due diligence. There's no doubt, I mean, it's a huge area, but is there?
I am not aware that there's a cap on what can be asked for the due diligence. I would say, our position's always been, it's been on a first come, first serve. Quicker we can get our application in, the better our position we'd be to access all the time.
Okay. So that's not just
part of the 100 million? That's part of the 100 million?
That's part of the, I think, the $10 million.
$10 million for due diligence, yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Do we have an estimated, I think we went through it, what was the estimated cost again for I guess, running the sewer service to that mega site?
So,
I know it was one of the first slides, I can't remember what it was.
this way. Oh, there it is. So funding, so it was $180 million for all phases amongst all utilities. So wastewater, water, natural gas, and power.
I was gonna say, I think the one back there, yeah, 41.8 million.
Oh, that was 41.8 million.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilor Robinson?
Didn't I understood that this Weyerhaeuser owns 10,000 acres roughly out here. And then what we're looking at is they've got a tract that's 3,000 acres, and we're looking at putting this mega site kind of in the middle in 1,000 acres. So basically our neighbor is completely Weyerhaeuser, is that correct? And what I also understood is that the access road from Highway 11 into the mega site would also be on Weyerhaeuser's land. Did I understand that correctly?
And properties that they have acquired to
Right.
allow for that extension.
So it basically, I mean, obviously it can have indirect impact, but we're dealing with just one person.
That's right.
And I got the distinct impressions, I think many of us did, that this was the #1 site in the state that was kind of for this mega site development.
That's correct.
Kind of, and I'm really saying for those who are watching on TV and those who are in the audience, because, you know, we get the benefit of really getting the down and dirty behind the scenes
That's right.
stuff, and the public doesn't necessarily get that. But, you know, having been a lifelong resident of this, and I travel to do what I do for a living, this is a game changer for Bethel, for Parmalee, for Robertsonville. And if you go look at Williamston, unfortunately, there's a dying town, lost their hospital. And I think, Michael, you may have shared this, I think, over 100,000 people come into this county a day.
Oh, more than, yeah.
To-
like
something like 150.
200,000 people, yes.
And I do know my associate was having a conversation that, I said, people from Swan Quarter come here 2 or 3 times a week. We're kind of the hub, and so I think this is a grand event to really drive the north side of the river, because as everybody knows, I've really been talking about the north side of the river with Councilmember Daniels about how we need to do things to make development over there. This is a game changer to bring back the citizens of Bethel and the Parmalees and the Robertsonvilles and Williamstons, and to make everybody have a more livable wage. And I looked at some recent data. The median salary for Pitt County, and that's including Greenville now, is $45,000. 25th percentile was 21. And if I'm not mistaken, the Boviet solar jobs are averaging $56,000 per employee or something like that, Michael. So if we get those kinds of industries out there in the mega site, it's a true game changer to pay people more livable wages, which is what we need so people can be able to actually afford homes and have a decent standard of living. And so this is a game changer. I know it's not going to happen in the next couple of years, but for us to be able to plant this seed this early on and look at this site and do this, it's a true game changer, because once you do that, other things will come that will benefit the citizens north of the river.
And I'll say that it's a conduit also to partnerships with our community colleges and our K-12 institutions, not only in Pitt County, but in surrounding areas, for what it's going to take from a workforce development perspective. We can provide the product, but if you don't have the skill set in order to do the job, then you have nothing. So this is just one piece of it, but this has got to be the conduit that provides a more emphasis on making sure that the job skills are there through the Pitt community colleges, the Edgecombe community colleges, the Martin community colleges, through the K-12 system. And this is what spurs that.
Boviet solar representatives indicated that was one of the main things that caused them to locate here, was because of the workforce we had available to put to work in this community.
And I want to say, also, since the two of you mentioned that, number one, with the workforce development, we definitely have the human capital to be able to do that. But the other thing, when we talk about averages of what average salaries are, we have a significant issue in our community and our surrounding communities with housing and food insecurity. And with ENC Alliance being in the room, I am impressed when we hear about average salaries, but it doesn't mean a whole lot to me. And so as it relates to the mega site and what might potentially come in the future, what we need to make sure that we're being mindful of when we're attracting those businesses is that we have a minimum salary that is required when we're negotiating with them. And that a certain percentage of the jobs that are being offered come from our county and our city. And so that is how we really have true economic development in our area, because the average salary can be manipulated based on what the top paying people are making. But when we say that this is what minimum salaries we require if you want to do business in our area, that's what means something to me, number one. And then number two, that a minimum percentage of those jobs be offered to people that are right here from our city and our county. Just wanted to mention that while we were talking about it.
One more thing, and I think I'm correct on this, but I'll stand to be corrected by council. And I'm always looking for the pennies, you know that, is that when the utilities increases their assets by building all this infrastructure does the city of Greenville not benefit from that financially? Because
Yes.
that plays a part into their calculations. I think they're getting ready to give us over $9 million. And part
under
of that
the-
calculation is their assets, their infrastructure, am I correct?
That is correct. Under
So-
the charter's formula for the turnover, basically is what I call it, the GUC transfer.
So we
It's
will
based
benefit.
it's based off of the electric infrastructure and the natural gas.
So we will benefit by their additional infrastructure of what, 40-some million dollars, looks like?
180 million.
100, okay, yeah, all right, thank you, that's what we, thank you very much, Mayor, for let me make this comment.
Thank you.
All right, any other comments, questions, motions?
Motion approved.
Second.
All right, motion's been made by Councilmember Robinson, second by Councilmember Blackburn. Any other discussion? See none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay.
Motion passes 5-0.
Hey, that was an amazing presentation. One more
Team
time.
effort.
That was-
Team effort.
Good job.
Team
Danae.
effort.
Good job.
Very good.
Hey, I think the Delta's,
worthy of a
I
big
think the
rock,
Delta's
sir.
approved. They came for you, Danae. Don't you worry about
They
that.
gave you all thumbs up today, I think you're winning today. A presentation's worthy of a Big Rock t-shirt.
No, hey, no offense, Scott.
Take your time.
The crowd's leaving.
I'm way less popular than today. It makes sense. You know.
Hey, I'm used to that. Like when you give up like 10, or when you're down 10-0, everybody leaves and you come in to pitch. You know,
The good news is, like 3 slots.
nobody's paying attention, right? Hey, and this is an exciting.
I hope you bring the details, that's all I can tell you.
Hey, this is a great agenda item, right?
Way
here.
less details than Danae. Do you want to read the item?
Danae had
Mr.
it
Mayor?
covered.
Yeah, she hit
Danae had
every
it
nail. Danae does a great job.
She did.
Let me read it.
Okay, item number 16, resolution to authorize city manager to accept donation of real property located at 0 East Fire Tower Road, Winterville, North Carolina, further described as tax parcel 84009 to the city of Greenville from Lewis Land Development LLC. I will now ask our assistant city attorney, Scott Dixon, to provide the presentation.
Members of the council, Mr. Mayor, good to see you as always. I will try to be short. I know you got one really long presentation left, I believe. Quick explanation. Harvey Lewis owns some real property on Fire Tower Road, further identified as tax parcel 84009. Part of the subject property is a 110-foot former fire watchtower located on a .018 acre or 786 square foot site with permanent access and maintenance easements from the Fire Tower Road corridor via the adjoining land. The historic tower is an icon with significant importance to the community. City had an appraisal that was conducted valuing the as-is market value of the property at $520,000. The city is interested in acquiring the property for its significance as a landmark and to be used as part of a city public art project. That is an aerial shot of the fire tower that we are all kind of familiar with. The recommendation tonight is to authorize the city manager to accept this donation of real property by Lewis Land Development LLC, located at 0 Fire Tower Road, Winterville, North Carolina, 28590, tax parcel 84009. If the results of due diligence efforts are favorable to the city, and to further provide authorization for city manager or mayor to execute all documents necessary to finalize this conveyance. Tim Birch will be doing the deed conveyance, and he is working with Christian Porter, who represents the person donating the property. You guys have any questions?
Would you be interested in doing the budget presentation now?
I would not. I'll leave that to the experts.
Mike was like, that's all mine.
Anybody got any questions?
Shock, I do.
Shocker.
Scott, can you repeat how tall that tower is?
110
centimeters.
feet? 110 feet.
110 feet, and the
Although I have not
flagpole,
verified that measurement.
the flagpole at Camping World, can someone remind me of how tall that flagpole is?
I am staying out of that discussion. I don't recall the size of that flagpole.
Very nicely said.
130 feet.
130 feet. 130 feet. The fire tower is 110 feet. The flagpole at Camping World is 130 feet. Thank you.
All right, any questions?
And it wasn't addressed in the PowerPoint, but there will be a minimal fiscal impact. We are conducting a title search, and we are doing everything we can to preserve the city interests. So if for whatever reason the results of that are not acceptable to us, we will update you. But this essentially provides authorization for the city manager and the mayor to execute and effectuate the entire agreement.
Okay.
Can I make a suggestion
Yes, sir.
that we look for historical funds to help with any renovations, painting? or
Oh,
whatnot,
absolutely.
Because it's historical landmark.
Of course.
I don't know if they're available, but let's look for that. Thank
And,
you.
and I believe the only condition attached to this is it be used as part of a public arts project, and I know Mr. Mayor has been working diligently on coming up with that, so, excited. But we'll have staff to regularly
I'll
research
take
in regards to
care of
grants.
Have you been to the top yet?
We might,
My son has.
Sister Flag
You
to,
paint that marijuana leaf up.
I don't know what he did.
Hey, how do you know what's up there?
Do that now.
No, you can see it from the street.
We're gonna erect the Sister Flag.
I've never looked at that.
Oh, Lord.
Motion to approve?
All right.
Second.
We got a motion made by Councilmember Scully. Who seconded that one?
I did.
All right. Second by Councilmember Robinson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you.
you.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 17, presentation of the City of Greenville fiscal year 2025-26 proposed budget. Now call forward our Chief Financial Officer, Jacob Joyner, for the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This is the presentation of the proposed fiscal year 25-26 budget for the city of Greenville. Just kind of give a little background on how we got here today and kind of how the budget processes work so far for this calendar year. Back in January, we did present the mid-year fiscal budget update to the council. We kind of gave a overview on revenue sources and expenses and what we were looking at for this year. We followed that up in February with a budget preview presented at the council small group sessions. March, we did have a budget preview presented at a council workshop. And in April, we had a presentation of the proposed sanitation rates at the council meeting. And that brings us to tonight, where we're going to present the full fiscal year 25-26 proposed budget for your consideration. The city's budget includes not just city operating funds, but it also includes Greenville Utility Commission, Convention and Visitor Authority, as well as Shepherd Memorial Library. All told, those budgets total $502.5 million, with the city operating budget being $183.4 million of that. Of that $183.4 million, $118.9 of that is under what we call the general fund, which is the city's main operating fund where we carry out most of our activities. And that represents 65% of all operating dollars spent by the city. And the budget, as always, starts with the city's mission. That's where we kind of get our guidance from council on where budget development needs to be focused. And that mission is to provide all citizens with a high quality of services in an open, inclusive, professional manner, ensuring a community of excellence now and in the future. And we then look at city council goals that was established by the city council, and that's the guiding force that we use for developing the budget. Starting here, the first thing we look at is the proposed budget maintains the property tax rate at 39.54 cents, which is, once again, one of the lowest tax rates we've had in the city in 20 years. And it's not just the lowest tax rate the city has had personally, but it's also the lowest tax rate compared to our regional and peer cities that we have. Those include cities such as Asheville, Wilmington, Gastonia, Rocky Mount, Jacksonville, Grifton, New Bern, Kinston. All these in Greenville at 39.54 cents is the lowest of those. The budget appropriates 85% of all of our revenues to be spent in core public service areas. And those are the ones that have the direct impact on the community, such as police and fire rescue, our recreation and parks, neighborhood and business services, planning and development, as well as economic development and street improvements. The budget will invest over 65% of the general fund into City of Greenville employees that serve our city each and every day. Provides for an average 4% wage increase for employees, as well as provides funding to change the 401k contribution from 3% per pay period to 4% per pay period. The city budget invests $400,000 in funding to support the city's information technology infrastructure, $300,000 for scheduled replacement of workstation computers, $272,000 to fund the city's efforts to share news and activities and market the city on social media channels, and $3.1 million annual funding for the city's pavement management program. The budget provides $4.25 million in paid as-you-go funding for various capital project initiatives. That includes $1.2 million into funding for the facility improvement project, as well as $3 million in funding for the city's vehicle replacement program. The budget continues the stormwater utility plan approved by council in April 2019. This plan will fund stormwater capital projects, operations, and preventive maintenance over the next 10 years. And this includes the first year we do not have a rate increase in the budget within the past 4 years, so that stormwater rate remains stable. Provides for an increase of $3 million to cover the increased cost of operations within our operating department. That includes $245,000 in mowing costs, $355,000 in fleet operations, and $400,000 in facility maintenance costs. It provides for $250,000 in funding for pedestrian safety projects around our community, and an additional $200,000 in public safety recruitment and retention pay increases in order to retain public safety employees. Provides for 6 new fire EMS employees to run an additional 24 EMS truck hours in order to reduce response times and cover increased call volumes throughout the city, and provides for 8 new police officers that will be paid for initially through a federal grant program. It provides an additional $200,000 in new funding to support ADA and sidewalk expansion and infill projects. This brings that budget to $400,000 total, with a goal to establish a $1 million recurring budget by fiscal year 2029. It provides $375,000 in local funding to support our CDBG and housing initiatives, which help fund down payment assistance programs, coordinated entry, construction training, rehabilitations, non-congregate sheltering, and as well as gap funding for affordable housing tax credits. And new this year, we'll provide $200,000 in funding for the Affordable Housing Strategic Plan, and the goal for that is to also increase it to a recurring $1 million a year within the next 5 years. The city proposed budget includes $500,000 for a citywide economic development partnership. It provides for $20,000 in funding of the city's facade improvement grant program, and $20,000 in funding for skills training through the Pitt Community College Jobs Initiative program. We will continue construction of the build grant with greenway projects, as well as finishing up resurfacing or reconstruction of 5th Street as well. And meets multiple goals, but also provides $375,000 to support CBG and housing initiatives. The budget includes $800,000 in funding to enhance beautification of the city and our parks, and that includes things such as constructing mowing, landscaping, maintenance of street right-of-ways, and maintenance of city facilities, including parks. Includes an additional $100,000 in funding for the Pitt County Arts Council at Emerge. Continued development of Phase 2 of Wildwood Park with the connection from Wildwood over to River Park North, as well as provides for the construction of the Town Common Bulkhead project. We provide funding for the Greenville Museum of Art and North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences, and provides funding of Shepherd Memorial Library. The budget this year includes a 5% increase in their operational funding and $110,000 in capital funding for the library. And also, it provides funding for support of over 50 community events, including Little League, Softball World Series, July 4th, National Night Out, and various other events throughout the city. And city staff believe that this is a strong reflection of the city's mission as set by council. Let's go over the general fund budget, which is really the main operating. That's where a lot of the focus of the city's budget goes into. Starting with revenues, we are projecting a total revenues of $118.8 million. Of that, 83 out of every $100 comes in through only 4 revenue sources. Of that, property tax and sales tax make up the bulk of that, but also the GUC transfer in, as well as utilities franchise tax, also significantly impact the budget year to year. Once again, this is just a reminder of our property tax rate at 39.54 cents. And here's the comparison slide as well, showing the rate compared to others. And we are projecting $46.7 million in property taxes for the fiscal year 26. Sales tax, there's a 7% sales tax in Pitt County. Of that, 4.75% of that goes straight to the state. It does not stay here locally. The remaining share, the county gets 0.25% as their own. And the remaining 2% is shared between the counties and local municipalities, and that's on a per capita basis.
Sales tax, coming out of COVID, had really strong growth year over year. We were seeing double-digit percentage increases every year. That has slowed considerably over the past couple years to where we're looking at this year. We're projecting flat or even slightly down revenues in sales taxes. This is consistent with what the entire state is seeing. It's not really unique to Greenville, and in fact, some of these other places in the state had this happening before we did. We've had strong sales tax, we typically do as a city compared to our peers. But it is something that we're watching concern as it is a large revenue source for the city. With all that said, we're projecting a conservative estimate next year for sales tax of a slight decrease from this year's budget. And that's just so that we can stay conservative as a city and not have to make cuts mid-year next year because sales tax doesn't come in as expected. The GEC turnover, I believe we talked a little bit about that earlier today, but this is the section of the charter that spells out how GEC knows how much to give back to the city. All this is based on their audited financial statements from the prior year. And the formula is their capital assets minus their long-term debt times a 6% transfer rate. So when they do build out new infrastructure, if they don't issue debt to do so, that does make its way back to the city through this transfer rate. Next year, what we're projecting is just over $9 million from GEC. All right, to go over a little bit of some of the general fund expenses. This is a highlight of what our proposed expense budget is. Nearly 50% of the budget is spent on public safety, which is fire rescue and PD, followed by recreation and parks and public works and engineering as well. That is split between personnel, operating capital money, as well as transfers out from the city, which go to other city operating areas. 62% of the budget is spent on personnel, representing nearly 2 out of every $3 that the city spends. Going from last year to the current year to next year, when we're looking at the budget, city has estimated to have an additional $6 million of funding available, which brings our budget overall to $118.9 million. That's a little over 5% increase year over year. And this is the list, and we'll go through these individually, of how that money is allocated in the current budget. The first thing we kind of dealt with is having a large impact was the state of North Carolina is requiring that our inspections division be treated as an enterprise fund, so that there's more oversight in how inspection revenues are spent and that they're only spent on inspection activities. So the main impact that has is all that money that was collected and spent by the inspection, it moves out to its own fund. That leads to a decrease in our expenses in the general fund of $1.3 million. The other thing, $1.6 million increase is related to the employee wage increase of 4%, as well as an increase to the pension contributions of 1% on average. That is state mandated. 1% increase to the 401k contribution rate by the city to maintain competitive hiring, as well as increasing the budget for retiree health insurance costs as the health costs continue to rise. You see that. We also are setting aside an additional $25,000 to support arts and entertainments throughout the community. A 6% increase in information technology budgets to account for increasing software subscription and hardware costs. An additional $399,000 for insurance premiums, as well as $478,000 for operational support in the city's administrative departments. Now I'm going to ask a few of our department heads in attendance tonight to come up and speak about their departments specifically. If Chief Davenport can lead us off.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Good evening. Appreciate you having me up here tonight. And I appreciate Mr. Cowan allowing us to come up and speak individually about our departments, to let you all know that we've been working extensively with him to make sure that, and I'll put it in his words, that we stick to the plan. So what we're trying to do is is we're going to develop a long-term plan for each of our departments. And while we have a lot of competing needs within each department in the city, we think that the plan the city manager has put forward for us allows us to meet the future needs of the department. So know that this is well thought out, and we're considering a lot of different competing things in these areas. So 6 new fire rescue positions. We're continuing to increase staff, and our call volume continues to go up. Last year we ran over 21,000 EMS calls. That relates to about 60 calls a day in the city. And I'm sure you see us out and about throughout the city every day and hear us and everything else. And so we're out there running the calls. This has been 15% increase since pre-pandemic levels. Really, you have to take out the 19, 20, and 21 levels because they dropped off so much because people were scared to go to the hospital. Well, they're not scared to go anymore. They like going over there now quite a bit. We have other operational increases. Overall, we continue to see increases, especially anything you can tie to public safety. That we've had about a 35% increase overall in our operating, specifically firefighting equipment, EMS supplies, and equipment, what we call personal protective equipment. We've seen large increases in all those areas, as well as uniforms. And additionally, this was something that was discussed between myself and the police chief and the city manager, talk about a retention program. And you'll see here on this slide right here, I wanted to show we have a very young department, and that's attributed to the baby boomers kind of aging out over years, and we have a very young department overall. And so what we really want to focus on is focusing on the folks in that 10, 15-year range, because they're our future leaders of the department moving forward. The ones over to the edge, the 20 to 30-year range, they're going to be retiring out soon, and we need those folks to help train the folks there in the middle so that we have continuity of services moving forward. So it'll provide a 2% wage increase in the 15-year and above range. It's a strong incentive to remain with the city. Like I said, those are the folks that we're looking at to move into future leadership positions within the department. The program will require certification also as a paramedic, which we're the largest department in the state that provides EMS transport at the paramedic level, but we're also fire-based. So making sure our folks have that paramedic certification allows for continuity of services on the EMS side as well. I'll turn it over to Chief Tyndall.
Good evening, everyone. To echo what Chief said, we do have a strong plan with the manager going forward, and a lot of what we're asking has been conversations that have gone over for a long period of time. To just be here and ask the first request that's up here shows that we really have put a lot of work into this, into the plan, and it really is exciting to ask for 8 new grant-funded police officer positions. We haven't been in a position where we were able to ask for growth in a long time. We are at that point now, and it's been a lot of efforts going into our retention and our recruiting programs that we're able to be here now. The COPS hiring grant would fund the 8 positions at 75% for 3 years. The city would pick up the remaining 25%. And at year 4, the city will pick up 100% of the positions. That would put us, currently we're at 2.2 officers per 1,000 residents. This would move us to 2.3, and it'll put us on a track to continue to grow in the future. So this is a really strong program for us. We need more police officers. At one point, we were looking to do this. Unfortunately, COVID came through, it struck, and it kind of put us back quite a bit. So now we're able to move forward with this plan at this point. We too have a retention program. Our graphs almost mirror what the fire chief just showed. Our service award will provide for 2% wage increase at 15 years, creating a strong incentive to remain with the city. What we see now is a lot of officers have opportunities to leave at around the 11-year mark. 11 to 15 years is where we really want our officers to be moving in to almost senior level management positions. But as you see the graph here, the 13 to 15 years where we have the fewest officers at this point. 3% of our staff is made up of officers at 13 to 15 years. That will be a problem if we don't fix it when my generation of police officer retires, and that's not too far away. We have a lot of folks that are ready to step up, but we need to start filling this gap right here, and we think this retention program will help us retain those officers and fill those ranks. Additionally, we need support from you guys for our operational and especially technology costs. Right now, our TASER funding is in place through year 2028. Our body camera program is funded through 2029. We will continue to seek funding for technology through various grants, but we are currently, looking for all kinds of opportunities to develop our technology needs. As you all know, you've seen it before. It's a big part of what we do. Operational costs are going through the roof. I'm sure you're going to hear that from the other department heads that step up here tonight, but we do have a strong plan in place. It's kind of a joke, but it is true. Just being here to stand in front of you tonight to ask for 8 new positions shows that our plan's already working. That's all I have.
Chief, how many officers are we down now?
We are below 20 vacancies at this point, which is, at one point, we're almost 40.
So I know I've been talking about this for 3 years, and, we had an uptick in the shootings. 2 young kids got shot. What more can we do for your department to get these officers in here sooner? Because we need more officers on the street.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I will reiterate, the plan is in place. We're asking for 8 this year. The current plan is to ask for 8 next year and 4 the following year, which will put us up to 220. It'll put us up to 2.4 officers per 1,000, and I think that's an excellent goal.
So you're down about 17, 18 officers now?
That is an estimate, yes, sir. Fairly close estimate.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Good evening again, Council. So I want to obviously discuss public works and fleet maintenance costs, and we just heard from public safety. I think it was fire adding 7 and police adding 8. So that's going to, that personnel is going to have some reflection on our fleet maintenance costs, in particular our fuel costs, right? There'll be an increased number of vehicles, and with fuel, we generally try to remain conservative. The fuel costs are pretty volatile over the last few years. We're seeing about $110,000 request there for fuel. All right. Our fleet rate, our fleet labor rates are adjusted to reflect increased operational costs. So this is the internal, our staff, our fleet. So we're increasing that rate from $75 an hour to $80 an hour, and that reflects a labor increase of about $115,000. Commercial labor. Again, we try to do everything we can to keep a vehicle worked on internally, but there are certain inspections and certifications on specific vehicles. Typically, some of our heavy vehicles, such as our fire trucks, the ladder trucks, some of our buses that require specific certifications and inspections, or if there's a complicated repair that will occupy a bay for a long time, we would look to potentially send that out to commercial labor. Again, we're looking for a labor increase over this year of $64,000. Parts, we're beginning to manage the material costs that have really gone up significantly over the past few years. We're projecting just a $30,000 increase there. Building and grounds. So This is really on the mowing line. We mow through 35 cycles. We mow about 10,000 acres and about 1,400 miles of right-of-way a year.
That's it?
So, that's it, that's right. So, we have this year's budget is 500,000. We're projecting to be 750. Last year, we spent 750. So really, this is, we're right-sizing it, right? So, we're moving from 500 to 750 because that's what we spent the last couple of years. So, that is it for Public Works.
Good evening, Mayor and Council again.
Good evening.
All right, so again, thanks for the opportunity to speak. Thanks, Mr. Manager, for allowing us the chance to kind of share our needs within our operations. So Recreation Parks focuses on 3 different areas: mowing and beautification, personnel increases, and also operational cost increases. Mowing and beautification, need an increase due to primitive trail maintenance at Wildwood Park and Eastside Park. These are all new trails that we've brought online to our park system. There's 6 additional miles being maintained compared to previous fiscal years. Also, we're seeing an increase in usage at BMX Skills Course and the 6 miles of mountain bike trails at Wildwood Park. So we're seeing an increase there, and maintenance is certainly needed in both those areas. So a lot of maintenance right here. Some of it we do with city staff. Some of it we do have to contract it out. Next is personnel increases. This will be to cover market-based salary increases for part-time positions such as lifeguards, sports officials, instructors, and programming staff. And it's important to note here that some of this, the lifeguards and the water instructors that we use to help with teach water safety programs, not only helps our youth in our community learn how to swim, but also keeps our city aquatic facilities safe when we do open the pool. So it's very important as we see an increase in our areas around us, increase for lifeguards. We've got to make sure we maintain that to keep them. Also, the increases here will impact over 500 recreational programs that we currently offer throughout the community. Operational cost increases. We're seeing utility increases due to new and expanded facilities such as the Greenville Outdoor Aquatic Center. If you remember the old pool we had, this is such a much more larger facility. Certainly pulls more electricity and is more expensive to operate. Dream Park Community Building, which we just recently opened, and also the Wildwood Park Welcome Center, as well as the new restroom that we opened this past weekend. Also, with the new amenities at Wildwood and the new parking, that's going to have a direct impact to Wildwood Park itself. And next, I will call up Ms. Kirby from Engineering.
Good evening, Mayor, Council.
Good evening.
So, as far as engineering is concerned, there are a couple categories: utility and operations, and pedestrian improvements as it relates to ADA retrofits and sidewalk expansion. So first, utility and operations. We have realized the full operational impact of several large corridor improvements. Some of those are listed here. With regards to street lighting, we've completed the conversion to LED for the city of Greenville. We also have adaptive lighting in the downtown area, which allows public safety to be able to amp up the lumens at any point in the downtown area. And we pay the full price on those, whatever the highest lumen is. So we also have improved lighting on several major corridors: the Memorial Road project, Dickinson as it comes online, Hooker. We improve the lighting as those capital projects are done, and so that results in an operational impact. As well as our traffic signals, we have converted all of those to LED also, and we've acquired new signals as private development comes in. Moving on to pedestrian improvements as it relates to ADA retrofits. You've seen these numbers before, but just a reminder, in our 2019 survey, we have over 3,000 ramps within our jurisdiction that the city is responsible for, just within the right-of-way. Of those, 83% were found to be non-compliant to the current ADA standards. Currently, we do retrofit those ramps in conjunction with our pavement management projects or our CIP projects, and that is required by law. Of note, costs have increased by 76% to retrofit one ramp or reinstall one ramp, which is significant over the last 4 years. So these funds will be used to provide us with consistent self-evaluation surveys. We're required to do that once every 5 years per our transition plan. It'll also provide committed funds to address our ADA concerns in priority areas. Also match NCDOT's incentive initiatives locally within our jurisdiction, and co-locate our improvements to provide fully compliant intersections, ultimately reducing our liability to the citizens and the city. The second piece of that, the pedestrian improvements, is our sidewalk expansion program. So there are approximately 117 miles of sidewalk within city right-of-way, and that was per the 2019 inventory. It's about $50 per linear foot to install standard sidewalk. That's assuming no conflicts, no utility conflicts or anything like that. We'll use these funds to update our inventory, which is currently being done right now. We should have that final report at the end of June, and expand to approximately 4,000 linear feet of sidewalk per year for priority areas. I'll turn it over to.
All right, good evening. So I am bringing up the rear here. Our affordable housing plan begins with an investment of $200,000, which starts our opportunity to amplify efforts, creating a revolving fund to support increased development. This initial appropriation will kickstart flexibilities related to acquisition, demolition, and construction, reinvesting all program income back into the community. Ongoing support for affordable housing helps to mitigate uncertainty of external resources and other economic factors. And this program will both complement and supplement federally funded programs. In this plan, the initial investment of $200,000 would increase each year until reaching $1 million and then remaining flat until year 10. The ongoing investment will create home ownership opportunities by the dozens, supporting, elevating, and revitalizing communities from within.
Thank you. That is the general fund. The other part of the general fund that we see that has a major impact is our transfers, and that goes to things such as our debt service fund, facility improvement, engineering, capital projects, as well as a library, housing, and transit funds. There's a breakdown of what those budgeted transfers look like for next year. The $6.8 million in the debt service fund will cover the increased cost of debt associated with the town common bulkhead. And the other amounts, small increase to Shepherd Memorial Library, but most of the others stay consistent year over year. And along with the bulkhead, I got the numbers a little after we put this presentation together, but it's going to be approximately $15 to $20 million of new debt, estimated to be on the lower side, thanks to the bids coming in low, of new debt to finance the completion of the bulkhead, though. The Facility Improvement Fund, broken 3 ways between recreation and parks facilities, public works managed facilities, as well as information technology infrastructure. The Engineering Capital Project Fund will receive $3.7 million, over $3 million of which goes to the pavement management program, as well as $250,000 to traffic safety projects and $400,000 to pedestrian improvements. With our other funds, those debt service, transit, fleet maintenance, sanitation, inspection, stormwater, occupancy tax, health insurance fund, vehicle replacement, as well as facility improvement. All told, total nearly $64.5 million. To highlight some of the larger funds and what the changes we're seeing for the year, the biggest of which will be the sanitation fund. We are projecting a budget of $11.9 million, and that will be based on sanitation rates, which were increased 19 to 19.25 as presented to council last month. That rate structure looks plan is as follows. It starts with a Increase of $3.25 in the first year to 19.25, $1.25 of which is for the cart fee, as well as $2 for operating increase to sanitation funds. Stormwater has no fee increase budgeted for this fiscal year. We have completed the rate increase plan that was set by council back in 2019. But that fund will have a $13.4 million budget, or $11.4 million budget, which will allow for continuation of the capital plan and operating plan for stormwater. All told, 65% of those operating funds are spent on the general fund, and we're looking at a $183.4 million budget overall. Next step, on Thursday night, you'll hear from GUC, Shepherd Memorial Library, and the Convention and Visitor Authority, their presentations for their proposed budgets for next fiscal year. On June 9th, we'll conduct a public hearing as required by state law for the fiscal year 25 and 26 budget. And we aim to have adoption on Thursday, June 12th for the budget. And I'm available for any questions.
I have one question for Tiana. Have we heard anything about CDBG funds being interrupted in the future?
Not officially. We've not received any direct information about our allocation for this year or this upcoming fiscal year. We anticipate that we'll hear something in the next couple weeks. It's always kind of right at the finish line with the annual action plan, which can leave us scrambling to make numbers work right before our public hearing. So typically, you know, I would say within the next 2 or 3 weeks we should hear something, but nothing certain.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions?
If I'm reading everything correctly, it looks as though the occupancy tax has been kind of flat the last couple of years. Is that a fair way to put it?
So that one is, with the occupancy tax this county receives, it's been increasing every year. However, there's half of that goes straight to the Convention and Visitor Authority, so the city doesn't really control those funds. We receive the other half, a portion of which goes into our debt service fund directly, which we have 2 more years left on a debt issuance for the refurbishment of the convention center that was done back in 2015. The remaining money goes into a fund that is set aside for various purposes, majority of which is usually maintenance of the convention center, but also goes to augment any travel and tourism initiatives of the city. We support Little League World Series as well as additional operations of the Convention and Visitor Authority. When we're budgeting it, we usually don't try to budget the entire amount that we project to receive. We usually keep it kind of what we expect to spend out of the fund. As the reserve has grown coming out of COVID, as people have picked up on their travel again through the city, city's hosting more people. So this fund has grown a little bit as we look to target ways we can invest that back in the community.
And I'd add to that, again, like Jacob said, the revenues are broke, 50% for the capital, 50% for the operation of the CVB. On Thursday night, Andrew Schmidt will discuss with you how the 50% used for operations through the CVB is allocated. The 50% that we have for capital, retiring the debt service on the convention center, but I'd say first dollar after that is going to be used to help sustain a future sports complex like we've discussed in the past. That would be the first dollar revenue source that we use to fund a sports complex.
So the 6%, 3 of that, half of it goes to the CVD.
That's correct.
That's right. We have the control of the capital side.
Right.
The CVB has the other side.
And now I notice, looks like our sales taxes are going down or had gone down.
Sales tax? Yes, sir.
And so tell me this, what would we have to reduce our tax rate to get revenue neutral?
For property tax?
Yes, sir.
Any growth we've seen this year is solely based on the natural growth of the city through expansion or new properties being built. So that, when you do the revenue neutral calculation, that portion is removed from the calculation. So without having a reval year, you wouldn't have any money that's subject to revenue neutral calculations, because that is solely based on the increase directly derived from the revaluation that the county performs.
But we should have the revaluations we're benefiting from now because they were just.
Right, we had those, that was presented last year as part of that budget, where
You mean revenue neutral based off of the new revaluations
Right.
for 2024?
Right,
So,
that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
I don't remember what was the tax rate last year that was proposed for revenue neutral?
What was-
37, I think it was 37 point something. I think we retained approximately 2 cents of that, with the existing tax rate.
Can you tell, is there a way to tell us between now and Thursday, we went down revenue neutral figure, how that would impact our budget?
It would impact over $2 million that we'd have to cut out of our budget.
And if so, where could we make those cuts to fine tune? Particularly since our sales tax seems to be going down.
Are we having a discussion? We've set our tax rate. I think this is a discussion of our budget.
This is a presentation. I think this would be where you'd want to say, take modifications right now and give advice back to the city staff.
I want to be clear, I don't understand, I do not believe we're having a discussion of our tax rate. I believe we're having a discussion of our budget.
The official tax rate is part of the budget, adoption ordinance, that will come next month. So if there's any changes or desired, those would be usually, given ahead of time to be incorporated. But it is part of the budget adoption ordinance.
Yeah, and I think that's where I'm getting at, is that, we have not had a conversation as a council about changing the tax rate. Before we ask our staff to do a lot of work based on a change in the tax rate, I think we would need to have indication that council wanted to change the tax rate.
I'm asking a question about where, if we decide to do that, where could we cut the budget, trim our budget to achieve that?
Well, I would go back and say that if you look at the fact that public safety makes up 50% of our budget, then you're talking about $1 million of it right there coming from public safety.
Right.
In a time where we're trying to increase public safety. And I'd like to go back to the tax rate comparison. I don't know what else the city council would want us to do. We have the lowest tax rate out of 27 cities that we compare ourselves to.
I'm not really worried about the other cities.
Yeah, but I
I'm
mean,
worried
you look
about
at that, we have the lowest. I mean,
Yes, sir, I understand that, but if we could do even better and save our citizens, because that's one of the primary complaints I've had in the last 12 months have been the taxes that our citizens are paying. And so it may not be a way to look at it and do anything about it, but I'm just saying, based on the hundreds of comments I've gotten to me about the taxes our citizens are paying, I just think it behooves us not to look to see if we can. It may be that we can, based on what our needs are, but I think it's certainly viable to look at it and see if there's anywhere we can cut something.
Well, I would go back to, Jacob, the $6 million adjustment to the budget.
Yeah.
I would say you're looking at that line item right there, $2 million out of that $6 million, which would include reducing the pay increase to employees, new police officers, new fire rescue employees.
Should have got one of these items.
Yeah, dollars that we have set aside just to maintain our mowing and our beautification of the city. I mean, if you look at that, salary, wages, and what's going to public safety makes up the vast majority of that $6 million.
And there's nowhere else you say other than these categories to
That's
trim.
right.
Okay, thank you.
And if, I don't see any money there to trim, and if our sales tax is going down, I definitely don't see how we can decrease our percentage on our property taxes. I'm curious about why sales tax is going down. I don't know if you could guess, but I thought that was really interesting, especially considering inflation's continued, why the sales tax would be flat or down.
I think that's kind of.
Spending is way down.
Obviously, I think that's kind of your primary factor is that with the wages, with the prices of goods and services going up, I think people's disposable income is not as great as it was, and so they don't have as much disposable income to spend.
And I would also say that a lot of that increase you saw in sales tax was due to government spending.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the one-time funding that was provided to local governments for capital projects, when that money is spent, you receive sales tax revenues for it, but those local governments have the opportunity to go back and request refunds for those dollars. So you're seeing some of those dollars go back to the local governments, to the state.
I was happy to see that we've got some funding for the Museum of Art and the Museum of Natural Science. Is that recurring funding, or is that one time?
Yes, sir, that's recurring funding.
Great. Thank you.
Any other questions? Man, that's quiet. Hey, that must have been an outstanding.
Great job.
You know what? I'm just to give you some good critiques. You know, you brought the dream team out, including yourself. Including yourself, the dream team sold us all. So
I said they do a lot to help. Could not be up here without them. It's been a pleasure working with them.
there you go. There you go. Hey, and you know what? He had so much fun. He's going to come up for one more.
That's right. The next item is item number 18, budget ordinance amendment number 10, amending the 2024-25 City of Greenville budget. Ordinance number 24-038, Facility Improvement Fund. Ordinance number 24-038, Recreation and Parks Capital Projects Fund. Ordinance number 17-024, IT Capital Projects Fund. Ordinance number 17-024, Engineering Capital Projects Fund. Ordinance number 20-018, Capital Reserve Fund. Ordinance number 24-038, Enterprise Capital Projects Fund. Ordinance number 17-024, Public Works Capital Projects Fund. Ordinance number 17-024, Transit Fund. Ordinance number 24-038, and Special Revenue Grants Fund. Ordinance number 11-003. I'll turn it back over to Mr. Joyner.
Can you repeat what was the sixth ordinance?
I didn't hear a part of that.
I can't remember which one that was. Which one was that one?
I don't know.
But watch out, he's gonna make you read that Delta's resolution again.
All right, we have a budget ordinance amendment number 10 that is adjusting all of the following funds. We have item A, that'll be reclassifying general fund budget based on year-to-date operations. Has no impact to the general fund overall. We have item B, we're adjusting general fund revenues to projected actuals based on, now that we're pretty much toward the end of the year, that will increase the general fund by $865,000. Item C, transferring capital reserve funds and establishing the town common bulkhead project. That will increase the capital reserve fund by $5 million, as well as increasing the recreation capital project fund by $19 million. Item D, transferring funds to the IT capital project fund for a cemetery software project. Will have no change to the general fund and increase the IT capital project fund by $75,000. Item E, closing out various projects and transferring the remaining funds to the facility improvement fund. That will increase the facility improvement fund by $30,000 and will decrease the recreation capital project fund and the special revenue grant fund by $147.9 thousand, as well as $339,616. Item F, be closing the general fund projects and transferring the remaining amount to the facility improvement fund. There'll be no change to the general fund and will increase the facility improvement fund by $34,000. Item G, recognizing grant funds for the St. Andrews Stream Bait project. That will increase the enterprise capital project fund by $360,000. And item H, establishing the Safe Streets for All project. That will increase the public works, have no change to the public works capital project fund, as well as increasing the engineering capital project fund by $500,000. That brings our overall operating budget to $199.4 million. And we ask that council approve budget ordinance amendment number 10.
So close to 200.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, motion been made by Councilmember Blackburn, second by Councilmember Robinson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
Motion passes 5-0.
Man, I'm gonna tell you what, I'm getting pretty excited about the city manager's report, but we're gonna go to the review
There you
first.
go. I'm asking Mr. Letchworth to place that on the screen so we can take a look at all the exciting things we'll be doing on Thursday night.
Can't wait.
Good technology.
You wait. I already know, I'm not gonna get it.
Look, I just hope it works.
Me too.
I just hope it's happy trails again.
Okay.
Here
So
we go, here we
before
go.
I get to the moment we've all been waiting for, I would like to say that Mr. Joyner put on the screen a list of city council's goals and priorities for this year. And I think if you remember a couple of months ago, I told you what I've been working on to be able to move those projects, those goals forward. That included a sports complex. We're in the process now of moving that forward, and there's a lot of information that we'll be sharing in the next couple of months I'm so proud of. We had healthcare north of the river. We moved that forward last month. I just submitted this week the letter of commitment to ECU Health to move forward the Duke Endowment Grant. We have the strategic housing plan, a plan that will put 50 new houses in our community in 10 years. It's 50 and 10 is what I'm calling it. We have the replacement of the town common bulkhead approved tonight. The mega site project, which has been a baby of mine for the last 8 months. We are moving forward the next 50 years of economic development within our community, and a budget presentation tonight. We have a lot of transformative projects that we are working on this moment that I would say any two of those that could be accomplished in a 5-year period, a community could be proud of. We're moving forward all 6 of them this year. So I'm excited about where we're going with many of these transformative projects that we are bringing to fruition for the benefit of our community. And another project that we've been working on for the last basically 4 years is a lighting project of City Hall. This is dollars that were appropriated back in like 2021. And we, due to COVID, we put it on hold because of the increase in costs and equipment. But over this past year, we were able to put it back into operation. And we are ready to unveil this for City Council. So right now, I would like to go live.
It's live, all right.
All right.
Oh,
Wrong camera.
come on now.
Go figure.
Bring it back up.
All right now.
Hey, here we go.
Come on now.
Give me
Ready to
one.
go live.
Mike, no
One.
pressure, Michael.
1 minute.
Performance anxiety. Come on, Michael, you got it. Come on.
What's your password again, Kevin?
All right,
Oh,
there we go.
Just double click.
That's beautiful.
So,
Love that.
Can you make them flicker and stuff
Yes,
like
we
that?
can. We can do a light show every
Let's do a
single
strobe
night,
pattern or something like that.
and we can have bounce them bad boys.
Go get out in the window right now. We'll see you.
I'll do my happy
Now,
dance.
Kevin, is this live?
This is live, and you guys, part of this project is a force field to be able to change the lights just from right here. So,
Let's do it.
but I do want to highlight, certainly, Public Works staff, city manager, many other folks have been involved in this, Holly Garriott, working to install this exterior lighting program. I do want to personally thank Devin Thompson, Aaron Lewis, and Michael Turner, who are here on the second floor, and they'll actually be changing the lights. But the lights will highlight the southern face of the City Hall building with uplighting on the west side. We're looking at the west side. Also on the east side, closer to Washington Street, there are 6 downlights there. So with the help of Public Works staff, we will show you some of the features of the lighting project. We are already looking at the lighting scheme that we'll see for every council meeting, right? This green, this very regal green, this very stately green. But what I also want to show you is that we also have, as the city manager said, we have days of the week pre-programmed, and each weekday will have a different color scheme. And right now I want to show you what another one of those days looks like.
We're here so late, the streets are empty.
Kevin, I don't think that's live.
There's no way that's
That's
live.
not loud. That light's been yellow for the last 3 minutes.
Oh, you are
Press
you are
live at the
correct.
bottom. There you go.
There
There
you
we go. Even better. That's got
Thank
our
you,
city
sir.
colors.
Yeah, there we go.
Can you
So-
change them?
Hey, so I showed you what the regal green looked like, and this is what day 2 looks like. For our federal holidays, with a pre-programmed patriotic theme, such as for Memorial Day, 4th of July, Labor Day, Veterans Day, this will be the color scheme.
All right,
And
Mayor, it will.
Hey,
Oh, the lights are being changed in real time.
in real time.
Oh, my gosh,
Real
that's
time.
amazing.
So and look, we will program this so that we can do light shows on City Hall like every night.
About purple and gold. Can we do purple and gold?
What was the question?
Purple and gold.
Can we do purple and gold? We also want to be able to showcase our great university,
There you
ECU.
go.
during sporting events and graduation, and that will look like this.
Chancellor Rogers would love that.
All right.
This is gorgeous. This is gorgeous.
The force field, that costs a little extra. Lastly, we wanted to show some of the capabilities that can be included with the color schemes. This last one, our programmers called a ripple effect. So, so that 4th of July effect can go from side to side of the building.
Run into a wall or something, just staring at the lights.
It's just gorgeous.
In negligence claims, I ran through the light because of the.
And again, if you look down towards Washington Street, you see the reflection on the street. That same thing is happening on,
Oh, that's cool.
on the side of the building
Oh, it's
there.
on that side too?
It is.
Awesome.
It is.
So this goes along with what the Arts Council at Emerge has done
Party
to
at City
light
Hall
up
right now.
light up the Brightspeed Tower. The county has lit up the cupola at the top of the courthouse. We're rebuilding Fifth Street. We're adding string lights and archways on the Merchants Alley from 4th to 5th Street. What we're doing here is systematically creating the type of hip downtown that we want to be able to attract people to our community. And that's what everything that we talk about is enhancing our community. And these are the kind of things that will do that. So proud staff, thank you guys for everything you've done.
Job.
Thank you.
The tower and the courthouse have looked great for a long time, and I know getting that Brightspeed Tower lit up took an incredible amount of work. This is just such a great addition to that. I do have one question from an environmental point of view. I know that uplighting can cause light pollution. Are they beneath a certain level or intensity to make sure they're not polluting the night sky?
You don't, the intensity, it doesn't go really much above the roof or the 3rd floor. So, and you can control the intensity.
Good,
So,
good. I mean, it's gorgeous. I can see it shining upward, but it's not like these wall packs and other things
Right,
that are
right,
just
right.
so intrusive, but it looks gorgeous.
Again, this is the color the building will be lit up for every council meeting.
Cool.
All right, Mayor.
Hey.
Top down.
Cannot.
I mean, can we
That
scroll
was- hey,
PJ
that was
Mayor,
pretty
maybe
awesome.
PJ Crowley across the
Cannot.
top? You know?
Oh, will it be red and green at Christmas?
It will. We have that red and green programs.
Okay,
Um,
love that. I mean, I'm just thinking about Christmas already. I'm just.
I don't know how good the guys are down. Well, if they can do the red and green Christmas one, we could show that. Just putting them on the spot.
They may have. Oh, please, go
So,
ahead and just leave that up.
initially it was red and green, and the program threw a white in there, so we're probably gonna take that white out and just have it be red and green,
I love it.
so.
Our Greenville Gives event, I'm ready for it.
All right.
Hey, let's get through summer first. I like to eat. All right. Is that it for the city manager's report? All right. Councilmember Foreman?
I only have a few comments tonight. Back in the fall, I started an initiative for youth in our city called Representation Matters, and want to thank the city staff for assisting in doing a session of Representation Matters for 3rd Street School and Hype week before last. And that is an initiative where they come in and we give them a council situation to work out themselves, and they sit in our seats and facilitate the process, as well as give feedback as citizens of the community for the ones that are left in the audience. Also, want to thank the team again for the additional sidewalk that's going to be added on Arlington near Rose High. That's going to improve safety. So thank you, Lisa and team. As well as part of the DOT project, the additional sidewalks and bike lanes that's going to be on Allen Road. And want to elevate the additional lighting that's going to happen on Memorial, Hooker, and Dickinson. That is going to be greatly appreciated by the citizens in the southwest Dickinson corridor of the city. Appreciate you.
All right. Councilmember Blackburn?
I love those lights. I see Holly's here. I know she had such a big hand in that. So I love what we've done, and I appreciate what Michael said about trying to create a sense of place in our city. That's really what we're working so hard on, whether it's through our public art, and the lighting, which is also a form of public art, whether it's public performances, it's our First Friday, it's our social district. I'm just very happy for all of us in this community who love Greenville and who are now seeing it really bloom and blossom with so many distinctive features that really give it such a sense of place. Our public murals, cannot forget our public murals, so important. The other comment I have tonight is I just want to thank everyone who was involved with our North Carolina League of Municipalities, which had its statewide conference here. And I don't want to embarrass anybody, but I understand that Brock, our public information officer, personally was decorating for our host city event. That host city event was beautiful. It was well done. And I understand we had responsibility for pulling that off. So to everyone who was involved in that, thank you very much. It was a lovely event. Thank you.
Very nice. Councilmember Willis?
Yes, so congratulations to the Deltas on their Delta Day recognition and proclamation from the city. I wanted to mention that our wonderful Rec and Parks Department is going to be hosting a baby shower on May the 17th at the South Greenville Rec Center. The contact there is Ms. Jalen Brown, and so I want to encourage anyone who's able to donate. They're in need of Pampers, formula, onesies, wipes, and gift cards and the like. And it's just an awesome opportunity to love on moms and babies in our communities. So I think donations would be appreciated by May the 16th, but you can contact Ms. Brown at the South Greenville Rec and Parks Center. Also, I wanted to also thank Ms. Donna and her team for the awesome work that they did with the City Vision Conference this past week. I know that I saw plenty of Greenville City staff, as well as Visit Greenville NC staff, the Greenville Pitt Chamber of Commerce, as well as many community partners who helped to pull that off. And it was a wonderful event, as Councilmember Blackburn said. So thank you again to Donna and her team and all of the city staff who made it happen. I also wanted to request, and I'll make this request in writing to our city manager about bringing something to our June workshop meeting, and that being I would love to be able to see the breakdown of the roles and responsibilities of the Greenville Utilities Commission and the roles of its general manager, and the working relationship with the Greenville City Council as set forth by the city's charter and how we have a mutually beneficial relationship together. I would love to learn more in detail what that looks like and what our roles are. So if that could be brought to the June workshop, that would be amazing. And finally, I just wanted to make a statement. I realize that there are many people who have a vested interest in how we maneuver through this situation we find ourselves in with Camping World. Many people have voiced how they feel, and I welcome those who passionately yet respectfully share their perspectives. However, there have been those who have shared their discontentment in ways that have been vile, demoralizing, and downright disrespectful. It's uncalled for, and it's unacceptable. Let me be unequivocally clear. It's unacceptable. We have to learn how to disagree without hate. To the persons who have engaged in this hateful behavior, I say this to you. Your words do not reflect the heart of Greenville, North Carolina. Our strength is in our diversity and our ability to come together and respect one another and work towards better. Your hate will not prevail. My hope is that we can move forward, showing that the world that Greenville is a place of stability, understanding, and inclusion, that these are not fleeting morals for our city, but in fact the foundation of who we are. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Scully.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilmember Willis. Congratulations to all these two graduates. Graduating this weekend, really exciting for you guys and gals and people. So congratulations. So proud of the work you do here. So proud of a couple of employees we have at the Scullery that are about to graduate. So it's a really fun time of year. So enjoy yourselves after all that hard work. Thank you to the staff. Tonight was like a perfect example of how amazing you all are. Those are some really complicated presentations and so well done, so thoughtfully done, so that we can understand it. I make pancakes for a living, so I need a lot of help. But I really greatly appreciate your professionalism, the thoughtfulness that you take, and the time you take to do these presentations, and the care and love that you have for this city and for this community, for all the work that you do every day. It's really greatly appreciated. So thank you so much. And downtown. I'm going to keep on beating my drum of positivity for downtown. It's so exciting to be down here, these lights, this street, so beautiful, and it's still hard. It's still really hard to operate a business down here. Since we last met, I think 4 businesses have decided to close in the downtown area, which is a tragedy for our community. For the people that enjoyed those businesses, and especially for those families who operate those businesses. They all have a different story. I'm not blaming it entirely on the construction and the stuff that's happening downtown, but it certainly plays a part. So we need to do all that we can to support these businesses. I'm very nervous about the work that's about to start on Dickinson Avenue in a couple of weeks. It's going to shut down the main entrance to that neighborhood. And I want to encourage our whole city to be mindful of that as we go into the summertime, which is typically a slower time of year. It's going to be even more difficult. So please get out there and support your local businesses. If you don't, they won't make it. It's just too hard in normal times to have a successful business. So when there's anything difficult thrown into the mix, it really makes it impossible for some people to continue on. So please do all you can. And if there's anything we can do as a city council, city staff, to find more funding. The loan that we have is really wonderful. We have a $10,000 loan program, which has been helpful, but I continue to ask questions and try to seek grant funding and other types of relief for these businesses. I keep getting pushback that it's not economic development, but it really is. It's economic security, and it's economic development, because if these businesses leave, we need to maintain the economy that we have and grow it. So I really believe that that it makes financial sense for us to make those investments, and then that they'll pay back in dividends. So please continue to support downtown and help us be thoughtful about figuring out ways to support these businesses through the next year, because it's going to keep on being hard. But I remain optimistic and excited and thankful for the improvements. So, thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Robinson.
Good. I want to echo Councilmember Scully's positions. First, it's getting warm. Come down, enjoy our town commons, see our river, see what's going on, kind of envision what we're trying to do down there. And then come up and get a hot dog or get breakfast or get an adult beverage or something, or come there at night and go to one of the local restaurants and enjoy it. Make a concerted effort to come downtown. I know it's disruptive to the merchants down here that we're trying to do all these things to make the roads nicer and replace all the infrastructure, and they're bearing with us. But in the meantime, make some extra effort to try and go down and visit these businesses and give them your business, whether it's a hot dog or a taco or a beer or breakfast or whatever it is, including downtown Dickinson, going down that way. Make a concerted effort to go down and hit our local businesses, because they're going to be the nightlife down here and the food and restaurants. So please make an effort to come down here. Number 2, congratulations. I think, as Councilmember Scully said, we've got about 4,600 students graduating this week from ECU. And I just want you guys to know we're working hard to keep you here, give you jobs here, amenities here, and social things to do so we can retain you instead of you leaving here. And that's on our quest to kind of grow Greenville greater, as I keep saying. I also want to say, and I'm really proud of this, I'm proud of this council, we're getting something on the north side of the river that, as I say, is also a game changer if it keeps going through. The ECU Primary Healthcare Learning Center, and it's going to have 13 examination rooms, primary care, behavioral health care, social work care, health care, financial counselors, and a pharmacy. And she's not here tonight, but I know that Councilmember Daniels has worked really hard behind the scenes with ECU and the physicians and stuff to try and get this in her district, because it is a game changer for people north of the river to be able to go just a short distance and receive medical attention, primary care, behavioral health care, and be able to get their prescriptions instead of coming across the river or worse yet, having to go to the emergency room. So with the ECU folks and the Duke Endowment and Unshakable Builders are partnering together. This is going to be a great amenity to have on the north side of the river. So I want to publicly thank, I wish she was here tonight, Councilmember Daniels, because I know she has worked really hard, probably the last year or so, to try and get this done. And I also want everybody in this room and those who are watching to please keep her and her sister Nora Parker in your prayers. She's in the hospital, and just, you know, lift them up in your thoughts and prayers and do all that, because I'm a true believer in prayer. So please do that. And again, Mayor, thank you for everything you do for us and the rest of the council members, and I appreciate you letting me comment.
Anytime.
Yes, sir.
I'll be short. I just want to say thank you to our city staff. You guys did an incredible job. I think this last week at City Vision was a great example of that. Everywhere I looked, somebody was over there volunteering, spending time over there, you know, and giving people from throughout the state an opportunity to see what Greenville's all about, right? And I think they got to see the great part of Greenville, about all of our great amenities that we have, that we offer, but we've got great city staff that always step up anytime we have an event like that. So thank you to our city staff. Thank you to all of our staff members that came tonight to be able to, I guess, give a presentation on their departments, to explain reasoning, the funding that they need. I think that's always beneficial for us to be able to see it firsthand and understand, you know, what the needs are in each department. So thank you to all of our staff for doing that. I want to say thank you to the Recreation and Parks Department. I know you guys are getting incredibly busy now. This is the busy time of the year for you. I know things just keep getting more and more. We had the Wildwood Park ribbon cutting this weekend. That was neat. And then I know Don maybe had a chance to go back and change his clothes before he went to Hardiscope, which I heard was a huge, huge success. So thank you to Deborah Shepard for all that she's done. I know she's put that on for several years, and it was very well attended. Lots of positive comments, so thank you for that. A lot of really good things happening in Greenville right now. Weather's getting better. Kids are going to be getting out of school. Want to continue to make sure that we offer great programming, and I know the Recreation and Parks Department does a great job with that every single year. So thank you for all that you guys do.
Absolutely.
And with that, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, I got one from Councilmember Robinson, second from Councilmember Foreman. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay.
Motion passes 5-0.
We are adjourned.